but I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Wednesday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. What are those things we're not allowed to talk about, you may ask? Well, let me sum up because there's way too much to explain. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. As always, we're doing this live to include you because, as you know, I'm just a normal guy, knucklehead, on the internet with a microphone, and I don't have any special sources or inside knowledge about anything, really. I just read stories and tap some mythology here and there and try and come up with interesting concepts to think about and interesting concepts to talk about because, well, may you live in interesting times, they say. And so that's what this show's about. It's about that and all those other things, plus more. I mean, there's too much. I could do a whole hour-long intro about all the amazing things we talk about on the show, but instead, well, we'll just talk about those things on the show. So, like I said, just me. I'm not no special anything. Just me, right? And so the thing here is the special weapon, the secret weapon of Troubled Minds is you. And we've always done this in a live format. We've always done it to include you because it just becomes a conversation. Some of these things are just such wild ideas that you kind of, just scratch your head sometimes and wonder what the hell's really going on in the world we live in. Back to that whole concept of living in the upside down. And so, maybe I'm not alone in that thought. Maybe people out there actually share the sentiment. And the only way to know, right, because you can't just talk to normal people about crazy stuff, water cooler type conversations, because if you do that, they're going to think you're nuts, right? So the way I came up with to figure out if like living in the upside down was actually a thing is I started a radio show. And so here we are, and actually just set up so that in a format so we could talk to you, so we could talk to each other, so we could share ideas and just kind of be semi-anonymous, let's say. And, you could call me and give me a phony name and just tell me about your dreams. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't do that at work or, around family or, especially in today's, hyper-political BS age where if you bring up the wrong thing, you're discommunicated from the church, you're cast out from the family, and et cetera, so on. Or maybe even reported to HR at work. Who the hell knows, right? Who the hell knows how this goes down anymore? But, that's why we get together and do this by dark of night into that digital darkness, as I said there, and to include you. So we are streaming on a number of platforms and on digital radio. So we are on a Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, streaming on those platforms, of course, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM, that is digital radio. And so, well, you tell me, what's going on with this? I don't know. I don't even know anymore. All these great conversations seem to blend together. It seems like one zeitgeist is our zeitgeist, and we're planting the Troubled Minds flag a dead square in the center of this because why the hell not? So if you want to be part of the show, that's my long-winded way of saying I'd love to hear from you tonight as we get going. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. You can talk to me, and you can talk to whoever might be listening. And my old joke about you never know who might be listening, that stands. But I used to joke that maybe Vlad Putin's listening. Good old Vladimir Putin out there in Russia. Maybe he's listening. But that was the old joke. Apparently, that one is probably not. That's dated, I guess now, because with the recent news. So just scrap that one, and let's say, I don't know, maybe President Xi in China. Maybe he's listening. Hopefully I didn't jinx anything there. But yeah, so that's what's going on tonight. And as we stream on all those platforms, I'm watching the chat. So trying to keep up with you guys and all your amazing thoughts and sort of incorporate them, weave them into my thought process and into the show as we go tonight. So say hi in the chat. I'll come say hi to you during the commercial breaks. So what's up? What's up, guys? All right. So as we do this, what did I miss? That 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Discord, of course, is a chat client. It's a voice client. It's totally free, and many people use it to play video games and communicate and the rest of that stuff. And we use it to do a talk show and to communicate afterwards and just to bring people together. We're not sponsored by Discord. It's just an amazing program, and please come join it. troubledminds.org. The phone number is there. The Discord link is there. And also, we got another Discord running at fringe.fm/chat. Please join that as well. And one more thing before we get going here, please also download the Fringe app. You can find that at your iTunes or Android app store. It's completely free. It's the easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds. You just smash the play button at exactly 7 o'clock Monday through Thursday, and you'll get me. You'll get us. You'll get the Troubled Minds family, and then you'll get all the other amazing program that comes along with that on the Fringe FM. All right, so let's do it. Let's get to some weirdness. Everybody ready to get weird? Actually, let's do this. We usually don't have phone calls right off the bat, but let's try this. I'm hesitant. We're going to do this. Welcome to Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Jeebus. It's been a while since I've been on the show.
What's up, Jeebus? How you doing, my friend?
A lot's happened.
I do recognize your voice, and I can confirm 100% this is a Jeebus. How are you, my man? What's going on? What's on your mind tonight? We haven't even got started yet, and you're dialing the phone number. You're ahead of the game tonight.
Well, I had a sighting a while back since we last talked, and I actually recorded it and completely forgot about it for some reason. But maybe you would like to, be the first to go over it.
Sure. Yeah. Let's hear it. Let's hear about your sighting. When did this happen, and okay. What exactly happened?
I was in my backyard, kind of embarrassing. I usually go outside, take a leak, and look up at the stars. And I just happened to be listening to music. So I had my camera handy, and I look up and I saw what appeared to be a blue glowing plasma, like blue plasma discharge. And it was square, like a floppy disk at first, with a round center that was changing colors. And it was like right over my head.
How high up, approximately?
At first, I thought it was I couldn't tell because it made no sound and it was like pulsating. So at first, I thought it was a drone And then I realized, like, if it's a drone, it doesn't have the standard colors. I don't know, anyone can get, like, any kind of LEDs they want for their drone, but then it started changing shapes and doing insane maneuvers. Like, recently I watched this thing on the new racing drones. I know they can do awesome maneuvers with drones, but not like this.
Okay. All right. So then what happened?
So the video's only like 30 seconds.
Okay. So you said it was changing shapes. What was it changing shapes to? Anything recognizable or just something else?
So at first it was like a square, and then it would go into like a triangle, and then it would make like weird. The only way I can describe it is like if you take like an electron microscope and look at glass, you can see like the matrix, covalent bonds or whatever, like the invisible things that hold everything together.
Okay.
And it was like projecting that kind of. And the way I was able to like get finer detail was review the video, which I had for like over a year, but I didn't even really think about it on my old phone. And I finally uploaded it, and I found out that I could put it in the slowest possible playback speed on high definition and zoom in and freeze frame it, and it's like going in and out of the how some people call a dimension, and when it's really an infinite point of reference. But
okay.
It was like going in and out of our optical view, and then changing spectrums, which I can only hypothesize as like spectrums of energy discharge or whatever.
Okay, so how long did this entire thing last?
A little over a minute, because it sat over my head for a while, and started like dimming in and out. It was like the sky was clear, so it was like making its own clouds and popping in and out of optical view.
Okay, all right,
and
so
it started doing very erratic maneuvers.
Okay, and so
they can only be described like as not of this world.
Okay, and when you lost sight of it, did it zip away? Did it disappear? How did it leave you?
It went out over towards the ocean. Did some very erratic maneuvers and changed like its appearance and color and everything about it, and then just went out towards the ocean.
I see. Okay. And you said you did have a video of this. Do you want to share it with us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. If you can, just drop it in the Discord. Drop it in the Discord. Yeah. Drop it. I don't know. You have it on YouTube or something?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Drop it on Discord, and I'll pull it up, and we'll take a look at it. So the thing is too with this, were there any other effects? Did you notice something happening with yourself? Did some people have described other things happening when they're in the presence of UFOs? Was there anything else that happened to you, maybe physically or mentally or otherwise?
I did start getting like the inclination to start looking into a formula, a mathematical formula. There was 342000, which is just happened to be Hubble's constant, which is like the expansion of the Milky Way,
which is in hot contest. It's highly contested now. They think that the Hubble constant is an old measurement because they can't seem to replicate it, depending on the data sets they're looking at. But I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so then so you had this mathematical thing kind of popped into your head. Anything else happened to you physically or mentally as a result of this?
It led me to figuring out what Tesla's mentioned of whoever fully recognize the significance of 369 would unlock the keys to the universe.
Okay. All right. That's one we've talked about often on this show as well. All right. So please do share that video. I got to get going on the show here and let us rock. If you want to call back a little bit later, I can maybe review the video. Are you going to be around for a little bit?
For sure.
Okay. So please share that in the Discord, and then
I'm tuning in.
Okay, I'll pull it up, and we'll take a look
Thanks
at
for
it.
having me.
Okay, I appreciate the phone call. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for dropping that video. We'll get back to you shortly. Give me a call back, like maybe in an hour and a half. How about that? That work?
All right.
All right, perfect.
Have you ever heard of Zeta 3?
No. What reference?
Zeta 3. Like a part of Euler's formula.
Oh no, doesn't ring a bell.
Okay.
All right, explain later.
We'll talk later.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks for the phone call, Jeebus. Long time no hearing from you. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for the phone call. Always a pleasure, my friend. There we go. Yeah. Easy as that. Thanks for testing out the phone lines. Jeebus is an old friend of mine. We met on Discord a while back, and he always got some pretty amazing ideas. A friend of Bailey's as well, if you guys know Bailey. And so that's what we're doing tonight. We're going to start talking about this DNA memory stuff. So thank you for the phone call, Jeebus. Thanks for testing the phone lines. Thanks for getting us kicked off here. And so what we're talking about tonight is not UFOs. Well, maybe, because maybe your DNA memories have some UFOs in them. Who the hell knows, right? So there's this thing called epigenetics. All right, the study of epigenetics, and what it means is that we have something known as this DNA memory. Okay, and by the way, phone lines do work as confirmed by my good friend Jeebus, and you can call into the show at 702-957-1037. All right, so this epigenetics thing, it's known as this DNA memories, all right? And so, meaning like we've talked about this in the past on this show in several different forms, actually, because if you think about, just let's say arachnophobia, okay? Like some people automatically know to be, have this unnatural aversion to spiders, is I guess what the definition of arachnophobia might be. But I think the reason for that is it's sort of built into this DNA memory set, this idea of this epigenetics, okay? And so what it means is that we can pass on information, even memories, from one generation to the next, and they're encoded in our genes, and then all they need to do is be switched on or switched off based on just the way genes work. And that's a normal thing based on you got two parents, so you got two sets of genes for everything. It's part of the whole gene diversity stuff, and I mean it's all good until then we're talking arachnophobia, right? Then it's not so good. But the crazy part about it is that, okay, so if we know to be maybe afraid of snakes or afraid of spiders or afraid of things like this, then without ever even seeing them, like the first time, like maybe when you're little and you see a snake for the first time, you may just instantly have this like aversion to it, and I think that's what's going on here. There's a lot of things clearly with our DNA, with our genome, with a lot of things that we just don't really have the answers to. And unfortunately, scientists in many cases have kind of cited some of this as, junk DNA, things like this, which to me has always been just absolutely laughable. It's like, oh, okay, sure. We've gone through this trials and tribulation of all the, as the scientists would say, evolutionary process, right? And then clearly we just have all this junk that doesn't work, or the hubris of humankind sometimes is laughable. But junk DNA, right? Well, what if in that junk DNA is coded not just memories, all right? Memories of different things, memories of trauma. And so we've talked about trauma as well in terms of maybe MK Ultra, and in terms of maybe that's how you sort of break down people's reality, right, with trauma. And MK Ultra in specific, back that old mind control program of the 60s, late 50s, early 60s, was sort of based on exactly that trauma, not just trauma through they would do horrific things to people. They would smear feces on them. They would do things like break them down, sort of like Marine Corps style, where they abused them verbally, maybe physically. They would do things like they would give them drugs, right? LSD was one of the big things that they used to test with MK Ultra. But basically the idea was sort of that Manchurian candidate idea, and that you have these like sleeper entities that have been programmed one way or the other, okay? And so in terms of trauma, they would use it to sort of recode people's I guess you could say programming, like their base programming, whatever that may have been, okay? And so the weirdness to that is that, if you can reprogram maybe like our genes, which genes are switched on and off, you can reprogram like our entire, maybe not entire genome, but at least in terms of controlling people. If you can do that with trauma itself, which again, back to that MK Ultra stuff, that's exactly how they did it. And by the way, like I mentioned, the Marine Corps, the Marine Corps itself, or like any sort of military training, is based on trauma, right? The whole point is they like sleep deprive you, they make you do all kinds of horrific things, crawling through the mud and the cold, and things like this, and just sort of break down your idea of what comfortable even means anymore, so that you cannot question it. It's if it's a Marine, take that hill, you say yes sir, right? And that's the way it goes. It's not about that's probably a bad move, sir. Why should we? They don't want soldiers that ask questions, right? Like you say yes sir, and then you go take that hill. So that doesn't happen, right, without some sort of actual like traumatic reprogramming of the psyche, of the consciousness, of the heart, the soul, whatever you want to call it, right? So there's a lot to that in terms of maybe just trauma and reprogramming and that type of stuff, right? But then on top of that, now we have this other thing where we're talking about this epigenetic stuff, where you actually have DNA memories, and it does go back to maybe these traumatic events, like maybe being chased by a bear, or maybe you have some like bizarre, weird aversion to bears because your ancestors, or one of your ancestors, by the way, was maybe chased up a tree by a bear, right? Something like that. And I think that's the weirdness to this, is that it's kind of impossible to trace this back, because it's guesswork, because we can't consult, great-great-great-granddad and see if he was chased up a tree by a bear, and maybe that's why we have a weird aversion to bears, right? And so there's a whole lot going on sort of just in our genome and our just in our whole body, head to toe, that we can't really quantify, but it's there, yet it's there. And so, well, that's what we're talking about tonight. So the question is for tonight, this idea of DNA memories. I got some articles we'll get to as well, but thanks Jeebus for the phone call, kicking us off there. I appreciate that. So the idea is this: if you have these DNA memories that can cause things like arachnophobia, an aversion to maybe snakes or reptiles, things like this, which are more common, of course, in many people, because clearly, for obvious reasons, there's venomous snakes that can kill people, there's venomous spiders that can kill people, and so us knowing that, having that built into our genetic memory through this epigenetic stuff, it gives us an advantage, right? An actual evolutionary advantage if we know what to avoid, right? Well, it got me thinking in terms of, okay, so if that's the case, and we can actually sort of break this down to, well, let's say different things like that, like aversions, or maybe just being safer with particular things or situations, and it's kind of just burned into our being, then what if somehow, some way, it's possible to actually have the dreams of our ancestors? Meaning that, of course, if you dream and this epigenetics DNA memory stuff is legitimate, is it possible that the dreams we have in certain circumstances are not our dreams at all? Instead, we may be dreaming through this DNA memory the dreams of our distant ancestors. What are your thoughts tonight? Love to hear your idea on this. You think this is possible? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More DNA memories, ancestral dreams, and your calls when we return. Be right back. Don't go anywhere.
My name is Alex Exon.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And tonight, we're taking your phone calls, as always, but I want to hear your thoughts on this thing in particular. Something known as DNA memories, epigenetics. Is it possible that not just trauma and memories sort of seep through from generation to generation, but what about, in particular, our dreams? Is it possible that our dreams themselves are not solely our own, and some of that trauma from past generations, epigenetics, these ancestral dreams and DNA memories, do they merge at some point? And maybe the dream you have about, well, I don't know, being a fighter pilot in World War II is actually maybe Grandpa's dream. Is that possible? What about the deeper, darker, older dreams back to, let's say, the primordial birth of your family? What do you think? Is this even possible? And there's a lot of studies that suggest it is. It's very possible. And not just people, but animals as well. Of course, there's a famous study with mice that kind of kickstarted this idea, which we'll get to in a little bit here. But that's the question tonight. Do you think it's even possible to pass on these DNA memories and somehow, some way, instead of our dreams being our own, they're actually the dreams of somebody else from our distant past in our own genetic family? And that's the question on my mind tonight. Just another standard Wednesday on Troubled Minds, talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. So, love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll put you on the show. And that's that. It's as simple as that. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. All right. So what got me started on this? Let's get to the articles here real quick and then keep on rolling. As usual, I'd rather hear from you guys, but let's start here. This is from Gen Eng News, and this is, of course, genetic engineering and biotechnology news. New epigenetic mark found in rotifer was captured from bacteria 60 MYA, right? And again, kind of science heavy, this stuff, but you'll see where I started with this, because I do like to show you where my morbid thought process leads from start to finish. So here we go. DNA carries the blueprint for building bodies, but it's a living document. Adjustments to the design can be made by epigenetic marks. In humans and other eukaryotes, two principal epigenetic marks are known. But a team from the Marine Biological Laboratory has now discovered a third epigenetic mark, which had previously only been known in bacteria, in tiny freshwater invertebrates known as adeloid rotifers, which we've talked about in the past a little bit. This is the first time that a horizontally transferred gene has been shown to reshape the gene regulatory system in a eukaryote. And this goes on a little bit. It's, like I said, a little bit science heavy. As always, if you want to follow up on me and double check my work here, the links are always in the description as part of the transparency process, part of why we take calls live. And again, sort of just to get some ideas. But I want you guys to know that I'm not completely full of it. I'm only partially full of it, so you can find, and don't worry that this actual adeloid rotifer actually looks like a penis. I'm sure that's a coincidence. Anyway, so then let's move on to the next one here, and this is called PsychCentral.com. Right there, you go. You got to crack the jokes, right? So PsychCentral.com, and this is what got me going sort of down this rabbit hole, and thinking in terms of, well, not just this DNA memory cycle of epigenetics, and that we actually are kind of passed down these ideas, these stories, these experiences from the past outside of our own lifetime through our genetic build, our genetic makeup. Like this, doesn't that sound wild? Where how we are actually not even you can't even say you're yourself exactly, right? And so we talk about what consciousness is, what it means, all that kind of stuff on this show all the time. What does it mean to be an individual you? What makes me? What makes you? That sort of stuff, right? But if we're talking about like just our ancestral DNA heritage, and you trace that back, who knows? They've actually gone through some studies and actually proved, scientifically proven, let's say, that 14 generations back, they can trace this DNA memory back, right? And so that doesn't mean that it doesn't go further back than that. That means that's as far as they could figure out based on, right, small life cycles in laboratories with, critters that aren't people. Because if they're doing, right, this stuff on people, that's a whole nother conversation for sure. But here we go. So this is from psychcentral.com. And what is this genetic trauma, right? What is this? What does it mean? Researchers are studying how ancestral trauma might be passed down to future generations through genetics and other means. And that's what we're talking about tonight, all right? And have you heard of this? Do you think this is possible, or do you think this is some other stuff? And I think it's interesting to note, too. So in regard to this genetic trauma or epigenetics, or this idea of we're gaining knowledge even before our birth. Like, we're literally when the union is made in the womb, like those actual experiences, that trauma from our ancestors is already embedded in us. It's just a matter of maybe recognizing those situations and turning those genes on to let us know danger, Will Robinson, right? Something like that. So danger, Michael Strange. So I don't know. You tell me. Do you think this is real? Here we go. Let's read a little bit more of this. Can trauma be passed down via genetics? That's a question heavily debated by the scientific community. There's growing interest in the question of whether trauma experienced by our parents and grandparents may impact our mental health. But it's not clear yet if that impact is biological, psychological, or both. And again, this is straight from the article. Genetic trauma refers to the effects of trauma that some say we inherit from previous generations. While genetic trauma is a term people search for online and use in everyday conversation, do they though? I'm not so sure they do. Maybe in troubled minds, but not. I would not say this happens in everyday conversation. But anyway, it says many experts avoid the term. All right, that's fine. I'm not an expert, so I'm safe. Tracy L. Bale, PhD, a neuroscientist at the University of Maryland, says, quote, "We don't have much evidence that trauma is genetically or epigenetically, more precisely, inherited." We don't have much evidence, right? Not no evidence. We don't have much, because of course we're talking about humans on a human life scale, right? So it's difficult, sort of how they say that from inside of the thing, right? Like trying to measure how big the Earth is from inside the Earth. It's an impossible task because you don't know where the outside dimensions are, right? And so in the same term here, it kind of fits, because you can test this stuff in like mice or something, because they don't live that long, right? Or maybe these other bizarre, the deloid rotifers like we were talking about, because they don't live that long. So you can actually test some of this stuff from generation to generation in like within a year type of thing. So the question becomes then, since we can't really take a measurement of humanity because we're still sort of locked into that human life cycle, and if we start chopping out humans super fast, like I said, that becomes a whole nother conversation that we probably don't want to have. So the question is, can we measure it from inside the shell, inside the human, Lucky Mud, the Golem, the meat suit, whatever you want to call us, whatever this is, I don't know. I don't have answers here, just questions. But all right, so with that said, this continues. So they say there's not much evidence, but there is evidence to suggest this is real. So epigenetics is a study of how the events that happen to you and your behaviors, such as traumatic events and trauma responses, can change the way your genes work. These changes don't affect your DNA sequence, but they can affect how your body reads that DNA. All right? But even if there isn't a direct genetic evidence, Bale notes that the effects of trauma on the next generation can be important without being inherited. All right, which sort of brings up an entirely other question here, and that if we're thinking in terms of epigenetics, all right, and saying that if we can actually pass on information from generation to generation and use that for some purpose, again, for survival skills, for maybe this is how let's say savants are built. Let's say that there was some sort of a genetic memory where people in your past were predisposed and making you predisposed because they were like brilliant musicians, right? And so maybe some of the most brilliant musicians of our time actually had maybe ancestors that were also brilliant musicians, but it sort of trickled down through this epigenetic idea to create them in terms of I don't know, like just a savant, those prodigies that are just take to music like fish to water sort of thing. Like, how does that happen? Is it just a sequence of the brain that's maybe a lucky inherited trait, or do you think it is possible that all this DNA memory stuff is legitimate? And so that's the question tonight. I don't know. And then again, with all this. There's some actual studies we can get into where they've tried to prove this stuff is real or not with DNA memory. But the thing happens after this that again, my brain goes nuts when I start thinking about these things. And I was like, okay, so if this is the case, this idea of this DNA memory, and we're passing it on from generation to generation through trauma, because trauma is sort of the thing that burns into so deeply into us. Like I said, sort of with the MK Ultra bit, it does change who we are on a fundamental level, right? It's like the Marine Corps, go get the hill, PFC, sir, yes, sir, right? Like you don't question because you've had that trauma burned into you, and it is what it is, right? And so in terms of that, not just in a military scale or conversation, but what about the rest of it? What about other traumas from the past lives, right? So there's a couple things about this is clearly and obviously you can't have this happen like the trauma after. Okay, so let's say that grandpa or grandma or whoever, pick some ancestor, had something happen to them in the later part of their life. Well, it's too late to pass that on, right? So these things sort of have to be passed on previous to your birth, right? To the birth of your parents, right? So they can't like have the child that's your mother or whatever or father, and then have this experience, and then it gets passed on. It doesn't work that way. It has to happen before the birth of the next child, so the genes pass, right? So that's the one obvious thing that's a little bit strange here, that we're talking about, especially in the old days, very short lifespans. We're talking about people having kids when they were very, very, very young. So I don't know. I wonder if there's any truth to this, because of course, like always, a troubled mind doesn't go hook, line, and sinker with any of this stuff easily, because you never know. You never know if we're being fibbed to. So then I got thinking in terms of, okay, so not only this, so is it possible if this maybe trauma or DNA memory is passed on from generation to generation, is it then possible that maybe in our dream state, we're actually sort of locked into the dreams of our ancestors? And if that's the case, well, I'd love to hear your idea on this. Have you ever had a dream that was from the distant past when you thought you had no idea whatsoever what it would have been like then, other than like some bad movie late night on the Sci-Fi Channel, or maybe some book you read about Sherlock Holmes or something like this, like some actual no like direct idea, and you never really thought about it, but for some reason you have a dream that sort of takes place out of time, out of your time, and in the past somewhere, and maybe even a different place. And maybe it's a recurring dream. And that's what I want to know about tonight. Do you think it's possible, one, to actually pass on these DNA memories through this epigenetic idea? And number two, do you think somehow, some way, it can actually infect our dreams? And so have you ever had a dream that was the distant past? It seemed to be a place that you should have no knowledge of, but it seemed like you knew exactly where you were and exactly what you were doing there. And then upon waking, you were confused because you had never been to 17th century London before, right? Or never even thought about it, really. So something like that. I don't know. You guys tell me. I have no idea what to think about this. I'm the idea guy. I'm the guy with questions. I don't have any answers. But unfortunately, I don't have a lot of, let's say, yeah, this happened to me once, because as you know, I've said this plenty of times, I typically don't remember my dreams on a normal basis. And when I do, they're horrific dreams. They're like the big eye, the reptilian eyeball staring in the window type stuff, right? So maybe that's passed on from a caveman ancestor back in the time of dragons. Who the hell knows? But anyway, so that's what I want to know about. Have you ever had a dream that you think possibly could have had this link to this DNA memory? Maybe it wasn't your dream. It was sort of a dream passed on through your genes from one of your ancestors. One more time, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. I'd love to hear your ideas here, because again, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of things to draw on, because I've never had this happen, but I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure that if we're talking about this epigenetics, DNA memories, is it possible that it somehow seeps into our dream states? See what I almost said there? Dreeps into our seam states? That doesn't work as well. Seeps into our dream states. Do you think that's a thing? Do you think it's possible? I don't know. I think it's very possible, but I guess we can confirm that if one of you guys calls and actually says, yeah, hey, this happened to me, and I think maybe. So, as you know, we're drinking the maybe juice and considering all these things. So, we got more stuff. We can get to the studies and whatnot, but let's see. Oh, yeah, there's another thing, too, and I want to bring this up. In those terms of that context of DNA memories, Adonis says, no, Mike, I think it's one's past lives. And so that's another question here. So how does this idea of reincarnation fit into this? Because if we're talking about this idea of DNA memories and from our ancestors and dreams and these sorts of things, is it then somehow maybe not? Instead of this, it's not this at all. It's possibly sort of the reincarnation cycle. And you're not remembering an ancestor's dream per se. You're actually remembering your own dream of your own past lives. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot to this, and I'll get into more because I don't want to just spill all the goodies right off the bat. But as you know, this is nonlinear, open-ended. We can take it any direction you want to take this. But do you think any of this is possible to start? That's the question here. That's where we begin. And I wonder. I've never had an old-time dream like a, sort of Charlie Chaplin, black and white sort of dream. You know what I mean? Nothing quite like that. But I'm sure somebody out there and listens to Troubled Minds probably has. So one more time, love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm the questions guy, not the answers guy. All right, so there's more. There's a ton of this. If you guys look up epigenetics and look at DNA memory, if you just kind of dig into this a little bit, there's a ton of stuff. There's actually a ton of impressive things that are happening with this. Here we go. So a little bit more from this. I'll read some of this until I'll bore you guys to tears with some of this information until you call me. Mysteries of epigenetics. There's more to genes than DNA. This is from SciTech Daily, and this is from June 22nd last year. Biologists in the universities of Bath and Vienna have discovered 71 new imprinted genes in the mouse genome. Now, this is the study where this comes in, and they have data regarding this. A finding that takes them a step closer to unraveling some of the mysteries of epigenetics, an area of science that describes how genes are switched on and off in different cells at different stages in development and adulthood. To understand the importance of imprinted genes to inheritance, we need to step back and ask how inheritance works in general. Most of the 30 trillion cells in a person's body contain genes that come from both their mother and father, with each parent contributing to one version of each gene. The unique combination of genes goes part of the way to making an individual unique. Usually each gene in a pair is equally active or inactive in a given cell. This is not the case for imprinted genes. These genes, which make up less than 1% of the total of 20,000 plus genes, tend to be more active, sometimes much more active in one parental version than the other. Okay? This is where things start to get weird. Until now, researchers were aware of around 130 well-documented imprinted genes in the mouse genome. All right? And this is where the study comes in. The new additions take this number to over 200. Professor Tony Perry, who led the research from the Department of Biology and Biochemistry at Bath, said, quote, "Imprinting affects an important family of genes with different implications for health and disease, so the 70-plus new ones add an important piece of the jigsaw." All right? And so here we go. Let's see. Where's this study here? It's in here somewhere. Okay, I'll break it down. I'll cut off the cuff this one. So it goes like this, right? They did this study in mice, where as they do in laboratories, they like to be cruel to mice because, well, that's how you learn things, right? You be cruel to animals. But what they did is they put mice in this particular cage where they could give them an electroshock, right? And they had ways for them to escape and get off of like the shock plate. So what they would do is they'd put these mice in this particular cage where they could shock their feet. And it wasn't, it wasn't as grotesque as it sounded. It was like a static shock, right? It was one of those. It didn't actually hurt them, but it was traumatic enough to put fear in their hearts because they didn't know what was happening. And I say, putting troubled minds, putting fear in the minds of mice, right? No. So what they did then is they started putting like this cherry smell, right? So first they'd shock the mice, and then they'd run off, okay? And then eventually they'd come back to this common area where they were shocking them. And then the mice, what they did each time when they shocked them, they emitted this smell of like a cherry blossom, cherry tree, something to this effect, right? So it happened. They would shock them for the first time, then they'd come back out, then they'd release this cherry smell, and then they'd shock them again. So when the cherry smell came, they knew something bad was about to go down, and they'd scatter, right? So sort of that Pavlov dog thing, right? That whole idea. So it was a conditioned response based on a stimulus, which of course in this case would be the smell, the cherry smell. But then what ended up happening, and this is where things get super weird regarding epigenetics and this whole idea, is they were able to do this because, again, mice live very short lives and they're able to breed very quickly, and so you can have generations of mice very fast. So what they did is they removed this first group of mice from this entire experiment, never brought them back to it. They put them in this other area where they were able to breed freely and live freely and die freely, as mice do in laboratories freely, if you know what I'm saying. Sort of like how we live free, right? Consult last night's show if you want to check that out. But so the idea is that what they did then is they took the next generation of mice that came from these same parents that they did the initial experiments on with the cherry smell, okay? And so then they brought these new mice, the next generation, into this same shock cage. But what they didn't do is shock these mice. What they did do is release this cherry smell, all right? And so for some inexplicably, right? Again, we're talking about trauma passed down through DNA. They released the cherry smell, and this next generation of mice freaked out and scattered, right? They didn't know what was up. It was just this stimulus response to this smell, which they had never been encountered before. They've been, bred, born in a laboratory and the whole thing. So they're not going to be exposed to anything unless... right? They're exposed to it by the scientists. And so these mice, what they ended up doing is they knew. They didn't know there was a shock, but they knew that cherry smell was the precursor to something horrific, and they scattered like crazy. And this went on to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation of mice. So you tell me, right? To say this isn't real seems folly when you have experiments like this that really don't make any damn sense. I mean, as far as we know, mice can't explain to their offspring, beware the cherry smell, can they? Of course not. That's ridiculous. Or can they? Can they do it through their genes? And that's what we're talking about tonight. I've done an awful lot of talking. It's your turn. What do you think? Is this even possible? Am I off the rails again? That could be very true. But so the idea is this. If we pass on these DNA memories, all right, from generation to generation, and in this particular case with the mice, this cherry smell was a precursor to the electric shock. Well, the next generation never got shocked, but they were still extremely frightened, agitated, perturbed about the cherry smell. So, what's actually happening here? And then take it to the next level. Is it possible then, if we're sharing trauma through generations, generational trauma, as it were, is it also possible that the dreams we have where we are not ourselves are not even our dreams, and we're sharing them with our ancestors? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Like I said, I do not have answers. I wish I did. Answers are so easy. You just start the show, you read the answers, you say, have a nice night, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. It's not as easy as that. These conversations range far and wide. As you know, nonlinear, open-ended. Wherever you want to take this, what are your thoughts? Is this even possible? Do you believe in this epigenetic stuff, the DNA memories? And if so, what about not just dreams? Is it possible to have the dreams of your ancestors and not really know it or understand it? But what about, let's say if your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather happened to be Merlin? The plot thickens. What does that mean? Do you have latent magical powers that you may not understand? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're just here talking about crazy stuff like we always do. Don't go anywhere. More DNA memories, ancestral dreams, Merlin, and you when we return. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing that. Through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
All right, so maybe,
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Wednesday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. What are those things we're not allowed to talk about, you may wonder? I'll have to sum up because there's way too much, but it goes a little something like this. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. Taking your calls tonight as we discuss this idea of epigenetics. Is it possible that we're actually passing down trauma through our genes from generation to generation? That's what's on my mind tonight. Just another regular run-of-the-mill Wednesday at Troubled Minds. But then the next level of this becomes many other things. Thinking in terms of maybe dream states. Is it possible that the dreams we have are not even our own dreams at times? And maybe we're dreaming the dreams of our ancestors? You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts on this. As always, we're streaming this live. We're broadcasting live. And we're talking about this because there's a lot to consider. There's always a lot to consider. Life is complicated, right? This is not one of those things where it's just super easy. Like I said, open up the Beetlejuice Book of Life or Afterlife or whatever this is called. There's no guidebook here. There's no easy answers. I think that everybody's journey is unique. And when we talk about this epigenetics idea and genes passed down and trauma and all the rest of this, there's some weirdness. Dawn, what's up in the chat? Shout out to Dawn out there. Says that anybody ever check if their cat is afraid of cucumbers? Right? Anybody seen those videos on the internet? They put down the cat comes around the corner and they put like a cucumber down on the ground behind him, and then the cat's just chilling doing his thing, and it turns and looks and sees the cucumber and like jumps 30 feet high. Yeah, epigenetics, right? Like that, they've probably never seen an actual snake, or maybe they have because they're cats. But right, they definitely have that fear response to a cucumber. Because why? Why do you think it's been passed down? some cat somewhere along the way in their genetic history probably tussled with a snake, and it was not a good thing. Traumatic experience, right? So I don't know, and that's what's on my mind tonight. So is it not just possible that we have this epigenetics thing going on, but also is it possible that maybe the dreams we're having are passed down as well? And again, it gets into some of this other stuff, like maybe in terms of what would you say? Reincarnation. Maybe we aren't having dreams of our ancestors. Maybe we're having dreams of our own past lives. I don't know. Lots to think about, lots to talk about. As of course, we're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, broadcasting live on the Fringe FM, and love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. Let's go to Jack in Oregon. Welcome to Trouble Minds, my friend. Go right ahead.
Oh, wow. Hey.
Good evening.
All right. It's amazing how you seem to come up with a new topic every day.
It's not easy. I'll tell you that. Sometimes it's not easy. Some come easier than others, but thank you for appreciating it. Have you heard of this?
Very amazing.
Thaning you.
Amazing.
Thank you. Have you heard of this idea, this DNA memory thing? Is this new to you, or are you familiar with the concept?
Yeah. I'm familiar with the concept. I mean, it's like some kind of code, okay, to define life, right? And what bothers me about this whole topic is that, like, back in the 70s or right in there, they figured out how to, like, genetically modify fruits and vegetables and things like that.
Very true. I see where you're going with this. Go ahead and finish the thought. Don't make me cut you off and take it from you. Go ahead. Okay, so they're genetically modifying.
It's some kind of a thought.
Fruits and vegetables.
It's a thought, but it actually affects me personally. This whole concept, and this is how it is, because my mother was always a great baker. She could bake the greatest bread, and and then actually my first job was at a bakery when I was growing up. However, my family seems to, like, all of a sudden, my mom becomes totally allergic to gluten, okay? Gluten intolerant all of a sudden. And this is, like, in my mind, the greatest baker that ever lived, okay?
I'm with you. Are you trying to tell me?
Right after they started genetically modifying everything, I don't know what to think, really. I mean, she doesn't bake anymore. I don't bake anymore. It's like poison to us.
I see. So, in terms of a great baker, right? Once they've changed the genetic code of the vegetables and fruits and whatnot, it's you're saying it's actually changed the knowledge base of how to do things properly in the kitchen, right?
It's like it's the staff of life. It's like you change that. What? Hello? It's not easy to swallow.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a lot. That's probably a whole series of shows down the line. That whole, genetically engineering food. There's a lot there. That's a big handful.
Right.
To talk about.
My whole point is that whole thing operates on what you're talking about. Epigenetics, actually, is how that affects people.
Okay. All right. I got you.
You choose one thing up, and then it's different, somehow.
Yeah. Okay. So what about this idea of this epigenetics and dreams? Do you think it's possible for not just this trauma to be passed down through our genes, but maybe dream states? Do you think that's a possibility as well?
Oh, all right. Like, memories from your dreams versus, like, memories from like reading books and things, and so it's like a direct book. Like, it happened in a story, and then you get the story.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of thing. So maybe it's not just trauma. That's my question. So we have all this junk DNA, they say, right? That, again, the audacity and hubris of scientists to just say, oh, all this stuff is just junk, when the reality is they don't know what it is or what it does. They think it does nothing. But so my question is then, with this epigenetics idea, DNA memories, and all this junk DNA that's in our body, do you think maybe there's sort of these secrets coded in there that are not just trauma being passed down, but maybe dreams, maybe skills, maybe that savant idea with musicians or, people who are naturally inclined to do particular things, that sort of idea. And so I thought, let's take it to the dream world, because why not? Everybody loves dreams, don't they?
Sure. I think scientists are 95% exactly lame.
I had the mute button ready.
Like,
I thought you were going to say a bad word.
Sure. No, what you said was funny.
Thank you. Thank you. I try. If I make myself laugh, I've succeeded. Okay, so what do you think? Do you think it's possible?
No, I don't think it's possible. Definitely not.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. It's just a wacky.
I'm the answer guy today, and I'm saying no.
Okay, no. Perfect. You know what? It's just a wacky idea I had. I couldn't really find anything that discussed this particular thing directly. There's like one source I found that was kind of kicking the idea around. But it is nice that when I have an idea, it's sort of a novel thought sometimes because there's not a lot on it. So we're definitely drinking the maybe juice and doing our thing here. Jack, we got calls behind you. We got to run, brother. What's your final thought for me?
Definitely heavy, Mike.
Heavy.
Later.
You're the best. Jack in Oregon. Thanks for the phone call. Always a pleasure, my friend. Have a fantastic night. There we go. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. You tell me, do you think it's possible? Jack's the answer guy tonight. Good friend of ours. Thanks, Jack, for the call. He says no. This isn't possible, Mike. Come on, Mike. Now you're off the rails. Now you've really done it. That's fine with me. I do like how we brought up the idea of genetically modifying fruits and vegetables and food we eat, and maybe it does change the baking skill, the baking gene, if you know what I mean. I love the idea. All right, let's go to James in Michigan. What's going on? James, welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you?
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, my friend. Go right ahead. What do you think? Have I gone too far this time, James?
Well, I think you've gone too far so many times. I don't think it's possible to go too far anymore, really.
Okay, all right.
Count all the shows. My gosh,
I can buy that.
But it's amazing though. I have no problem with it.
All right.
Yeah, but this whole topic is making me reconsider one of my dreams that I've talked about here on the show before. The one where I was walking down a street and I didn't have my white cane.
Yes.
That I normally have.
Yes, I remember this.
I'm legally blind.
Yep.
It's just making me wonder if that was some distant relative from before, maybe, that I was somehow just experiencing them walking down a street, going to an apartment, because when I think back on it, I didn't see any advanced technology. I didn't see any computers or people with phones in their hands or anything like that around me. So it makes me wonder. Obviously, I don't know for sure, but it makes me wonder if that was more of a dream of a different relative in a different time, a different place.
Yeah, or again, back to the old multiverse situation. Maybe it was you in a different dimension. Yeah, I do remember that dream, and you had siblings that weren't yours and all the rest of that, right? That was a pretty wild one.
Yeah, that one is a different one, but yeah, that one I do think was definitely a multiverse situation there, the alternate version. Because like I said, it didn't happen, and so there's no way. I'm 99% sure that's not a memory from this universe anyway. But I wonder also if there are different versions of us in these other universes, and this is kind of crossing into different territories here. Can you have memories from other ancestors doing different things and having experiences that never happened here?
Yeah, that's a hell of an idea too. I wonder, because we talk about like once you kind of throw dreams into the mix of right the conversation, it does become very, very nonlinear because dream states are complicated in and of themselves, right? Some scientists just say, REM sleep and the rest of this, and the fluttering eyes and the brain reset, and it's a scientific thing. But then other people claim that they can actually travel astrally in their dreams, things like this, right? And then so we have this idea of maybe not just that, maybe out of body experience through your dream state, but then we maybe have these other ideas of, like you said, maybe you visited another version of James in another part of the multiverse. Maybe we're kind of locked into that consciousness idea where we all share that consciousness. There's many versions of you and many versions of me out there, and when we sleep, we tap into those individuals. So much here. I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's why when you throw dreams into the mix, it becomes sloppy. Let's say. I think that's a good word. What do you think?
Oh, definitely, and it could have even been. Maybe it wasn't even a direct connection to the person. Maybe they weren't doing that at them, like the other version of me wasn't doing that at that exact moment, maybe that was a memory of them doing that. That's where I'm kind of wondering about the whole memory thing with as it connects to dreams. Because I had another dream years ago about my family being out in this field somewhere near some woods, and it was like a big party, but I didn't recognize everyone there, but there were people I did recognize. And that party, I did not recognize that place or the circumstances. Like that did not happen in the way that, as far as I know of, in my life. So, again, what if that was some other version of me, or if that was some other relative? Maybe I was mistaken about the people I recognized. Maybe they were also ancestors that happen to have, because we know we pass on physical appearances, traits and everything. Maybe that was a memory of another time.
Yeah, and so this is where this kind of comes into a memory of the other time. You've heard of this epigenetics thing, right? This DNA memory?
A little bit, yeah, here and there. I have heard about it. Not too much, and I don't claim to know a lot about it. But yeah, I mentioned in the chat, and of course I got picked on for it after. Just joking. But it was in the first Underworld movie.
Was it?
As part of the as part of the plot in that. So it's interesting.
So I don't remember. It's been a long time. I did see the in the chat talking about Elizabeth. What's her name? What's her name?
I'm not going to say it because then I'm just going to get put down more for it.
Is that her name? Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, it's probably not her name.
That's okay.
Well, we'll just move on from there.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll just have to just check out pictures after we're done here. So okay. So I don't, like I said, it's complicated. This is not one of those things that is, like I said, it's not been explored, I think. So because of course, dream states themselves are, like I said, sloppy. So in many cases, like Lacey out there, what's up, Lacey in Utah, if you're out there listening, she said she keeps a dream journal, right? I don't, because I barely remember my dreams, but it would have to be sort of to do science on it, it would have to be people that can remember their dreams. It would have to be people that take detailed notes, like as soon as you wake up, so the memories are fresh, right? And then maybe they can kind of go back into family trees and see, maybe that they are dreaming sort of as themselves as maybe ancestors in particular situations. I don't know. Like I said, super sloppy there, but I don't know. I'm not so sure. So okay, so then with the rest of that, the mice thing, doesn't that creep you out a little bit? The cherry blossom smell, and then the mice and the electric shocks. How like the next generation, they know that smell means danger, even though they've never been subjected to the exact same thing. That is creepy, right? Like it brings a whole nother level of who we are, and we have no control over it. Like the trauma from previous generations seems to seep into ourselves. That's pretty nuts, huh? Makes you think that maybe we aren't as much in control as we know, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I was thinking about this earlier too. That could explain why different people have different fears of different animals too. If you think about that, some people have no problem with spiders, other people do. Or snakes or whatever. Take your pick. If you pull a group of people, of the animals that they're afraid of or they don't like, I highly doubt you would get the same exact answer for the entire group.
Yeah, no, of course not. Because again, right? So we have different ancestors with different traumas. And in one of the articles I was reading about this, they were, discussing that idea of the bear, maybe an ancestor got chased up a tree by a bear, barely survived sort of thing. And like, then their progeny has this bizarre, negative association with bears, which seems insane, doesn't it? I mean, that seems metaphysical, right? I mean, it's unbelievable, really.
Yeah, and that makes me also think of, in terms of the paranormal, if because we do. If you go back far enough, you can find stories of people experiencing, strange things, whether it's ghosts or spirits, or even seeing strange things in the skies. And I wonder how much of the fear we have of those things nowadays I know that the bias is there as far as the stigma of, as well, but I wonder how much of that is maybe even possibly rooted in these experiences that we had, or that our ancestors had throughout time.
Yeah, and then how far back does this go? So I got in the thumbnail. I've got a caveman. How far back do you think this does go? So they've actually traced it in laboratory experiments back 14 generations. What about people, James? You think we can remember like a trauma from caveman times?
Anything's possible. I stand by that statement. Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. I love it. And well, I don't know. I don't have answers. You know me. I'm not the answers guy. But I do think it's a fascinating thing to consider when, as people are complicated anyway, and then you start kind of like taking it to metaphysical levels with dream states, and then also these scientific levels of this DNA memory. I don't know, man. I don't even know what to think anymore. But okay, so we got another minute or two. So how do we wrap this up, James? How do we wrap this up, my friend?
Well, I do think it's interesting watching science go on over time. It does seem like they're slowly starting to get to the stuff that we're kind of interested in. And it's very slow, it seems like, but it is happening. It just seems like it, so it makes me wonder if someday they will, all this stuff will be normal for people. And I really hope that that's the case.
Let's shed the para out of the normal and just make it all normal. I'm with you. Some of this stuff is super creepy though, and I think that's why we do this, right? That's what makes a troubled mind, thinking about the creepy stuff and considering that. I guess maybe at some point we can cross test this idea I have tonight with Neuralink, right? We can download the dreams of James and maybe cross reference it with your family tree.
Yeah, it's at the same time that I'm interested in that advancement of the sciences. These experiments that they do on living beings of any kind always are a bit dark to me. I could never do that.
Yeah, I mean, like they in the laboratory with mice, they just break their back and then move on to the next generation. That's how they do it in the lab.
Yeah,
yeah. I wouldn't be able to live with myself after so many mice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're only mice, but for crying out loud, they're living too. James, you were the best. Always a pleasure, my friend. James here has a podcast called Salcedo Paranormal. He goes 5 nights a week talking about paranormal stuff. Yeah, it's Monday through Friday, and you can catch him live on his Discord or on his podcast, of course, after the fact. And he does it at 5 p.m. Pacific time, so 8 p.m. Eastern. You're the best, James. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for calling. Thanks for being locked into the Troubled Minds fam. I appreciate you very much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. James becoming pro. Pro is pro, and James is pro. Go listen to Salcedo Paranormal. Good stuff going on over there. So the question tonight is this. Our DNA memories, right? Do you think that somehow, some way they can seep into our dream states? Or do you think I've really gone too far this time? Damn it, Michael Strange, now you've done it. I'm fine with that. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're taking your phone calls as we discuss this idea of epigenetics, otherwise known as DNA memory. Of course, this weird study with these mice where they put them on a hot plate and shocked them with the smell of cherry blossom. When they took the next generation that was never subjected to the shock itself, but gave the cherry blossom smell, the next generation panicked. How does this happen without some sort of DNA trauma hand-me-downs? You tell me. And the next step is, does this actually cross over into your dreams? Meaning, is it possible at all that your dream state isn't your own? It's possibly from our ancestors. One more time, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll put you on the show. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. And let's go to my good friend Derek. Derek the Night Stalker. Derek in Massachusetts. How are you? What's going on, bro?
Hey, Mike. Great show tonight.
Thank you very much. Have I gone too far this time?
No. We're just getting cooking. We're just getting going.
All right.
Haven't gone far enough yet.
Perfect. All right. So what's your idea here? I'm sure you've heard of this epigenetics, and you did mention the cherry blossom and that whole mice experiment. See, I almost said, sorry, Matt. I almost said rat and mice and said Matt. I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that way. But the mice experiment, you've heard of this. So what do you think regarding just this DNA memory thing, but then also tie it into dreams, if you can, or if not, if I've gone too far, it's all good. What are your thoughts here?
No. So originally when I said, I'll call after James in the chat, my call was going to be starting with the cherry blossom thing. And then you said it. I was like, oh, there we go. Sorry, I didn't think of something else real quick, But yeah, that's wild to me. And that is essentially proof that what happens to us is passed on. And people use that for all kinds of different types of our natural, our habits. And people even use it to explain racism and prejudices and stuff. And I tagged you in that tweet or whatever in the chat, saying you can read it. I don't have it in front of me anymore, but saying that our fear of the uncanny valley, or the idea of the uncanny valley, our dislike of when something looks almost human, must be from some point in our history, evolution had us fear something that looks human but it's not human, and how creepy that is. And it's that's pretty true. And I just carry that around in my. That's just how I kind of see the world. In my belief, everything that happens, every moment of our life is imprinted on us in our junk DNA or whatever, And I kind of visualize it almost like that, tree in Avatar that they put their sexual tail thing on their tail they used to and then they have they can access the memories of their entire ancestors. I think that's kind of what's going on basically, but it's just that's what our DNA is essentially. And
it is memory
dreams,
locked in. Let me read this real quick before you get to dreams. So this is the tweet that Derek shared here on the Discord. It says this: one of the most frightening things I've ever heard is when someone pointed out that the existence of the uncanny valley implies that at some point there was an evolutionary reason to be afraid of something that looked human but wasn't. Ooh. Ooh.
That's bizarre. You can take that all kinds of ways. Is that just the Neanderthal versus Cro-Magnon thing, or battling different types of hominid species back in the day, and a fear of the unknown, a fear of something that's almost like us? Or is it is our fear of robots because at one point, maybe one of the wipeouts of advanced human civilization was done by robots in the past at some point, or something crazy like that? That's a movie more than it is a call idea. But as far as the dreams are concerned, there's all kinds of different Black Panther has the ancestral plane and stuff, and in magic, the ancestors are extremely important, and even just in spiritual practices and stuff, and very important. I've heard, I don't practice magic. I've never done magic before, but they say one of the first things you should do is build an ancestral altar, an altar to your ancestors. And there's that saying that walk into every room as if all your ancestors are with you, because they are in some capacity, So what if you're not just sharing actually experiencing the dreams or memories of your ancestors, but you're getting messages from your ancestors in your dreams, and they're just using the images that they have from their experience in order to convey these messages to you, because it all depends what we think dreams are. Are dreams just processing of our own memories, or are dreams our subconscious or our higher self or whatever trying to give us messages so that we can learn things evolutionarily or even spiritually, metaphysically? So it's just using images that we experience during the day to have us learn stuff in our dream state, and then you can just kind of crank that up to all the images we have in our entire collective lineage, So it's our ancestors giving us messages, advice, pointers through their own images as well as our own, and that's what we can see that. So maybe sometimes our dreams are in settings that are their settings, because how would you explain something to your descendant other than using like something from your own experience? You know, I'm rambling. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And we talked about this with with some of our grandparents that we wish that when we were younger, before some of them passed on, we had easier technology to be able to record some of the things they said, some of the stories, right? I mean, they impart wisdom and knowledge to you just by speaking, right? Just by every day spending time with them. But being able to catalog some of that would be like super valuable in so many ways, just because once they're gone, they're gone. And so the odd part about it is that maybe that's not the case at all. Maybe we already have part of that in us, and that's that's a magical thing. That becomes, like I've said in the past, like walking into a room, you're not by yourself. You've got generations of talent and animal magnetism and thoughts and ideas and whatever it is, right? Like you've got generations of this like built into you, and so you're never alone. We're never alone. And the ideas, it's a little creepy in the sense that maybe the ideas we have aren't even our own, right? Maybe similar instances that happened in like the previous lives of parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, etc. Maybe our genes lock in to a pattern in those particular instances because it's built into us. I mean, that's like it turns consciousness and humanity on its head, right? Just this idea of this DNA memory, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Rivers was trying to explain something to me. Like she knew I was calling in, so it was gold. It was absolute gold. But I was trying to focus on like I couldn't process it. But she mentioned one aspect. She mentioned one thing, saying that like sometimes she's heard or she's experienced or both, like the idea of all of your ancestors, like your entire lineage, kind of taking the form of like one avatar, like one like dream avatar. So like all of your ancestors kind of using the collective memory, and then your dream mind interpreting it as like one person kind of guiding you. And that's just like for some reason resonates with me. It reminds me of like that ancestral plane of like the Black Panther walking around with previous Black Panthers as like he learns how to solve the problem he's having in waking life. That's for a lot of cultures, that's what the dream world is for. It's to solve problems. It's to learn stuff. It's to like one of the major functions of dreaming might be like in order for us to figure out like problems that we're having in our waking life, so that we can wake up with the answers. That would serve a huge evolutionary purpose. But as far as like, so that idea is just cool to me. I wanted to just mention that. And it's just like, what if something that like kind of separates humans from other animals is we form narratives. We like take events and we kind of form a narrative out of it in everything. So what if our brain is kind of doing that with our collective memories? If we're storing all these past events that have happened to us, possibly forever, like all this junk DNA that we don't understand might just be like cookies in a computer, basically, just like recording absolutely everything that happens, everything you're taking in through your five senses, and then just a function of the brain, like the way like humans form narratives, the brain is using that information and giving it to you in a way that we can process it, like flashes of memories or images, like a computer glitching out might pop in different random pictures and images just from the cookie database or whatever. It's forming these images in order to give us like advice or have us like learn things. Which is a cool idea to me. But like, as far as our memories and our thoughts are our own, that ties into like the collective consciousness idea. And if we're all sharing this collective consciousness like right now, if we can like have a shared dream, which I think we can with people that exist right now, like maybe if we all got really good at it, we can have a double mind con in the dream realm, So if that process exists, could we access the memories of everyone in history? Like, do we have access to all of those like ancestral lineages? Like, what memories are really like it's so crazy. And then just like we really are kind of like antennas. It really is just like all the information is out there, and we're just like tuning into specific things. And forming it as our personage. I don't know, forming a personality out of it. It's great. I'm really rambling bad, but
no, you're
does
good.
that make sense at all? Like,
it turns this entire idea into a whole bunch of other things, including, like you just described, sort of the Akashic record. Is that maybe not just the idea of this epigenetics and this DNA memory, but if it exists as that collective subconscious, as you say, it means it's also eternal. It means that it's one of those situations where it's not 14 generations. We're literally tapped into some cosmic I almost did it on the radio. Yeah. Cosmic stuff that's like I don't know, like you can't even unquantifiable cosmic stuff that we're tuned into, like that antenna. And so I don't know, like I think it's an easy step to say that, okay, everybody has dreams, and that dream state is maybe the link here to the next thing. But I mean, doesn't this seem like magic, or like literally metaphysical, like just unbelievably weird stuff here? That's like, it's science.
It really does seem like you just said it with the Akashic record. It just seems like the DNA as like a biological Akashic record, as like that could be what it is. Like, that's part of the function of what it is. You know, it just collecting all the data. I hate making it sound like we're some type of advanced robot thing, but it's just kind of like this similar process. It's just like taking it all in, and then like what we're doing is filtering it through who we are, and kind of like creating something out of it. And that's like the forming narratives thing. But yeah, it is it does seem magical. It does seem like, and it does seem to be very important. Like I think like kind of Rivers talks about this a lot, that like kind of like the Western world and Christianity has kind of taken the ancestral worship out of religion. Whereas like in the East, it's very, very common. Even people who aren't religious at all, like atheists, have ancestral devotion in their like everyday life. It's just a natural process. They just think it's important. And under this paradigm, it would be, you know, if all their knowledge is stored in you somewhere, then like being close, having some type of relationship to that knowledge would only be at your advantage to you. You know, it can only be to your benefit if you're able to access the good stuff more easily, you know, which might be what dream work is. And if you get better at remembering dreams, you might realize that we're doing this every single night, you know?
Yeah, like it's a shorthand of dream shorthand of like passing on the knowledge from the ancients. It is interesting, you know, that you said from Rivers there that in the East they venerate their their ancestors a lot more, and there are places in the East which seems bizarre AF, but they'll put like, you know, Grandpa's skull on the mantle and stuff like this, you know, like it's like it seems really, really dark, but it's a way to honor them, right? Like to not forget them, and you know, things like this. So yeah. Wild stuff, man. Wild stuff. What else you got for us, my friend?
Wild stuff. Great. I feel like I'm rambling bad. I don't have a good thesis to my call, but really great stuff. Really great show, Mike.
Appreciate it. You're the best. Derek here in Massachusetts, the Night Stalker, has a YouTube channel. Check it out. Let's inspire him to make some more content. Brilliant dude. Good friend of mine. Thanks, Derek. I appreciate it very much.
Later, brother. Great show.
Thanks a lot. His links in the description. Scroll down. Give Derek a follow. It says follow Night Stalker here, and go follow his YouTube channel. He's just got a trailer right now, and let's inspire him to make more videos. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as this. Looks like we got a first-time caller. I'm not sure who this is. Welcome to Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Hello? Are you there?
Yeah, Jose, and I'm calling from Denver, Colorado.
Jose in Colorado. Welcome to Trouble Minds. Go right ahead. What's your idea here? Have you heard of this epigenetics and DNA memory?
I've actually experienced it, and my cousin turned me on to your show. It's great listening. We were just talking about this weekend, and I haven't seen my cousin in a few years, so it's been kind of odd that, you know, I just felt comfortable talking about some of this stuff, because like one of your callers earlier said that, you know, he got made fun of. But my experience is I had a son back in 2000, and we jumped in. It was about 18 months old, getting pretty close to 2 years old. And we were going to go out to dinner, me, the wife, and my son. And I turned on the radio, and that song, We Will Rock You, Well, my son had a hard time talking. My son had a hard time talking, but he could sing that song. And I'm like, where did you hear that song at? And he said, come on. He's like, come on, Dad, we used to listen to this song all the time. Well, when I had my son, I was 29 years old when he was born. Well, the song's quite old, and he was born in 2000. So, I believe the song came out in the 70s?
Yeah.
Yeah. 60s or something like that. And I said, I never listened to this song when you were born. I said, you're not even that old. And he's like, we used to listen to it all the time. I swear. We used to listen to it all the time. And I started laughing, and I started thinking, I was like, where would I have heard that song, repeatedly? And it reminded me of when I played football in high school and wrestled. They would always sing that song, or I'd go to a basketball game. They'd always sing that song, and pound the bleachers, singing that song. And I was like, wow, and my thought back in would have been 2002 is like my memories lived through my son.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Down in the blood or something.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Check this out then. So can you remember a time in your past then where while listening to that song, maybe something traumatic happened? Like, was there a car accident, or, you know what I'm saying? Was it anything like that? Because that seems like it might cement it in, and that's wild if your son actually was able to pass on the idea of that song through DNA, through this epigenetics, through that transfer. That's amazing, man.
Yeah, I mean, I always played sports. So, I played sports for a long time, and, growing up through playing football and wrestling, most you go to a lot of tournaments and people just chant that song, and they pound the bleachers when, they're playing that song in the, like halftime shows or whatnot. They'll just start chanting that song and pounding the bleachers with their feet. And I'm like, he's like, we used to listen to it all the time. I said, you're only not even 2 years old yet.
Exactly. That's wild.
So,
that's
what I'm saying? And I even told my wife at the time, I said, man, I haven't listened to that song in probably, 15 years.
That's pretty wild.
We listen to it all the time. I said, this is weird. I mean, my memories are living through my son. So, and I've been saying that, and I've been telling that story to several people, throughout the years. And, people thought it was very interesting. And I always thought there was something, but where do you experiment it? How do you get a hold of, somebody to check out if that's actually possible? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a wild idea, isn't it? Like I was talking to Derek just before you called in here, is it doesn't even seem like science. It seems like magic. It's like, how the hell could you actually pass on information genetically that's like novel information that like the next generation needs to know? It's unbelievable. And so what about the idea of kind of taking that epigenetics and DNA memory and passing it on to a dream state? Do you remember your dreams? Have you ever had a dream where maybe you were in the past and were like kind of wondered how you knew what the place was? Anything like that?
I don't dream anymore. I haven't dreamt in a long time. Or I know I dream, but I don't remember. But my kids tell me I dream all the time because I wake up laughing. They say, you just laugh. You just wake up and scare us. You just start laughing like something's funny. And I go, so I don't remember my dreams, but my kids say that I do dream. But I haven't dreamt since I was about the age of 27. I had those, I was having those dreams that something was holding you down, and you try to move, you can't breathe, you can't wake up. You're trying your hardest to move, and you can't. And through fighting it, I was able to open my eyes and capture, I want to say, an entity in the dark. Looked like he had a black robe on with a hood. And I just started praying, and I said, and I just told it, if you don't leave me alone, me and Jesus Christ are going to come and just whoop your ass. And I haven't dreamt since then.
That's
and I
weird.
haven't had that problem ever again.
That's super weird. So I wonder if your dreams were manifested somehow by something nefarious. That's odd. So you still do dream, you just don't remember them. You wake up laughing, so they're happy dreams now. That's odd, dude. That's a great story. That's a great story. You said you had a family member that turned you on to the show. How are you listening to us? Are you on the Fringe or are you on YouTube? How'd you find us other than that?
On YouTube. On YouTube. Yeah,
YouTube.
The other day you had a great show on about something about either the future or the past. And if you could go back to your past and see your past. And a friend of mine tried to asked me if I wanted to try to do rebirthing. I don't know if you've heard about rebirthing. It's where you live your whole life backwards until the day you were born. They can put you in that state of mind to where you're actually, they put you under hypnosis and you actually dream your whole life until you were born. And it passes in a matter of, like you got to give yourself about an hour or 2 hours or something like that, but you just live your whole life and just like in reverse.
That sounds traumatic to me. I'm going to give that a hard no thank you. Jose, we're out of time. I appreciate you finding us. I appreciate the phone call. Please call back. You're welcome anytime. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for just spending your time and energy with us. It means a lot. Thank you so much, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a fantastic night. That's a new friend of ours, Jose in Colorado. Thank you so much for the call. Thanks for the phone calls tonight. You guys always bailing me out. I come up with a half-cocked idea, and you guys just bailing me out with amazing phone calls night after night. I appreciate that very much. So as we finish, we're as you know, we got 2 hour time slot on the Fridge. So on the Fringe FM, as I said the Fridge, the Fringe. This is I'm thinking I'm hungry. The Fringe FM, and so as we finish, it goes a little something like this. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, we get together and talk about all kinds of wacky stuff, right? It's what it's all about. This is kind of stretching the imagination, drinking the maybe juice, and just talking to each other. Just talking to each other is the most important thing. And so as we finish this, we'll be back tomorrow night. The bad news is we're done. The good news is, God willing, we've got tomorrow. And if you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Lighting the Void with Joe Roop. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. And it goes like this. As we finish, this one's for James. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. There we go. Making new friends on a nightly basis. Thank you so much, Jose, for the phone call. Embarrassment of riches. So many smart people that call into the show and contribute. I'm honored. I'm blessed. We're blessed. Thank you for being part of this. James says, glad to be part of this amazing community. I can't agree more. Thanks for being part of this, everybody. And we're still talking about this. We are off the Fringe now, and we're going to do a third hour, which means the third hour is for you. Like I said, it kind of, when I've talked about the same thing for 2 hours straight, me, myself, it becomes weary, right? Wearisome type of thing. And this third hour is for you. So we'll go as long as you guys are interested, and even go overtime if it takes that much, because I love to hear your thoughts. The questions tonight, have you heard of DNA memory, epigenetics, and passing on trauma from one generation to the next through your genes? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. Don't go anywhere. More Trouble Minds on the way. Looking for your phone calls. I could ramble on about this on and on, but it's less interesting than if you call. Please do that. Be right back. More Trouble Minds on the way. 2-minute break. 2-minute break. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're still doing our thing. It's third hour, so if you have a potty mouth, talking to you sailors out there, we're off the radio, so if you want to drop an F-bomb or say, this is crazy shit, you're welcome now. We're definitely able to do that without Mike getting mad, and that's an important thing because you don't want a mad Michael Strange. He's mad enough already to begin with. Don't make him double mad. So that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about crazy stuff per usual, and how about this? Epigenetics, our DNA memories passed on from generation to generation through trauma, maybe through dream states, and that's my question. Do you think dream state? Well, maybe this idea of passing on ideas, or maybe like we were talking about with Night Stalker there, this shorthand idea of maybe passing on knowledge, wisdom from the past is maybe through this epigenetics and our dream states. What better way to sort of impart knowledge into people if you couldn't do it consciously, but what if you were able to tap directly into their subconscious, right? I mean, that was like straight up MK Ultra stuff, right? I mean, that was the whole idea of sort of reprogramming people, is tapping into that subconscious space. So if we have this idea of DNA memories and this epigenetics, do you think that maybe somehow, some way, the dreams we have aren't entirely our own? They're kind of tapping into that ancestral dream and memory. I don't know. That's what's on my mind tonight. Again, no actual basis for this other than Michael Strange drinking some maybe juice, which actually didn't really start till the show began. But just trying to consider all the things and maybe have some discussions that are that people don't have. And I'm really, by the way, I'm really super proud of that. That nobody can copy Troubled Minds. You know why? Because we come up with so much crazy shit. It's like Night Stalker says, they're riding our wake, the competition. Because right, how can you? Some of this stuff is it's novel. It's literally brand new because I made it up. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link, troubleminds.org. Let's go to Matt in California. My good friend Matt, how are you? Welcome to Troubled Minds, my friend.
Hey, Mike. What's up, man?
Chilling, man. Talking about crazy shit. You know, just another Wednesday night on Troubled Minds.
Yeah. I want to chime in on this one.
Yeah. Perfect. So before you do, have you heard of this DNA memory, this epigenetics?
Yeah, I believe more of it being, because I believe in reincarnation. So I believe in it being more of a past life trauma type thing instead of the genetics. But I did have a couple things on the genetic thing, if I can go real quick.
Sure, yeah, as long as you like. Go right ahead.
The genetics, there's a story of, there was this island, and there's monkeys on this island, and the humans on the island, they wash their potatoes in like running water before they cook them. And the monkeys seen this, and they start to copy the humans, they start to wash their potatoes. And then all of a sudden, throughout the whole island, all the monkeys start washing their potatoes. Like it was passed down through some sort of, not like telekinetic, but like it was in the genes. And then even like the monkeys, the next generation and the next generation and the next generation of monkeys wash their potatoes, even though they've never seen a human wash potatoes before. Have you heard that story?
Yeah. Actually, I think the first time I heard that is you actually said that once before when you called in. No, it's good. It's good. I know. No. Don't apologize. I tell the same stories over and over, so don't not at all. So that's an amazing thing, though. So how did they know? So again, now it brings into question a whole bunch of stuff here, including, right, like, do animals have souls, right? Probably you and I probably agree on that. I'm not going to speak for you, but do you think they do?
Yeah, I believe everything alive has a soul.
Okay, and then I agree. But then what's the next step? So do you think that those animals also have these reincarnation cycles like human beings might?
That could be too. I was thinking more of it being like genetic, like it was passed down, like how you were talking about people being scared of a spider because it was passed down, like that kind of thing you're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's something built in, right? Like there's like we always talk about the knowledge of the ancients and all the rest of this stuff, but how do we get it, right? Like without the lifelong journey of how do we get it, we are sort of, like I say, walking into the room, we are bringing our ancestors with us, right? With this sort of ancestral knowledge, with ways that you've heard the term, an old soul, right?
Yeah, like born, like they call them like born agains. There's like multiple, I understand old soul exactly.
Yeah, and so what I mean then is like, is it maybe somehow like an evolutionary trait to remember more of these DNA memories, right? So it's like the old soul is able to tap in to some of the calm of their ancestors or some of the wisdom, you know what I mean? And sort of just like, it's like, oh, I've been here before, like I get it. It's not so traumatic for me because, right, I'm literally standing on the shoulders of giants of my ancestors, and here we are in this moment, and this moment is okay, right? It is sort of that like a depth to that soul, like a depth to like a calm effect, I guess. I don't know. I've been told I'm that guy, by the way. Everybody's like, oh, you're an old soul. I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like there's so many things you could say about it, and what does it mean? I don't know, but maybe not. I don't know. I do think there's anything to that. But sorry, I derailed you a little bit. Go back to what you were going to say. So you were talking about animals and the monkeys and the potatoes and genetics. Get you back on track. Go right ahead.
Thank you. So back to the genetics. Just a pop culture one real quick story. This video game I used to play called Assassin's Creed, and that video game is what you're talking about. It has the main character gets kidnapped, and there's these scientists working on this project, and come to find out that your character is like the great grandson of these thieves or assassins. And it was during like the Knights Templar time, and they were like assassinating people and taking all the gold and the treasures and hiding them. And so the bad guys want to find out where the ancestor hid the treasure. And so they invent this machine, and it like hooks into your head, like kind of like the Matrix hooks in the back of your head. And you're like reliving your ancestor's life. So you're playing as your great grandfather. And like that's how they find out where the treasure is. I thought that was it's a good story.
It is. And you know what's interesting? I've never played that game, but so I had this idea, right? I was like, oh, Epigenetics, I found these couple articles, and that's how I try and do this. I'll try and find an article or two that's interesting to me. It's got to be interesting, because if it's not interesting, why are we going to talk about it? But then I start thinking in terms of, okay, so where can we take this to make it more interesting, right? And you know what I came across, wouldn't you know it, just kind of searching stuff, and why I know this is probably a novel idea, at least not for Assassin's Creed. I came upon exactly what you're talking about, Assassin's Creed, and I was like, oh shit, this is like the plot of a video game. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of hot. I can dig that. But also, what was the machine called? Do you know the name of the machine that they plugged in to be able to play as their ancestor? I found the name of it. I've got it in one of these tabs somewhere. I don't know. If you don't remember, that's cool. That's totally cool.
I don't remember because I only played the first one, but there's like, I think they're probably on like 10, 15 of those games now. And each one, it's like it's a different ancestor. So it goes through, it starts off in like the Knights Templar, but in like Leonardo da Vinci times, and it goes all the way through. It goes through like pirates. It goes through the Civil War. It goes through history, and it's kind of like teaching you history too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. I love that history stuff. Part of why I love Anne Rice too. I was talking to my wife about this recently, and she's reading the Anne Rice books again, and we're just talking about like the rich history, how she kind of weaves it in. It teaches us stuff, And so, okay, so I did link, if you guys are interested in what Matt's talking about, there's a blog from Cornell University discussing that idea of the monkeys washing the potatoes. So if you want to read up on that, link is both in both chats, and you can check that out. So good stuff, Matt. I appreciate it. What else you got, my friend? What about the dream states here? Now, if we're talking dreams and these DNA memories, do you think there is a link? And you did say reincarnation. You think it could be both possibly, or one or the other, or what are your thoughts here?
Like I said, I believe more towards the reincarnation, the past life trauma being across, not necessarily. I mean, the genetics thing could be. I just have never experienced that, like thoughts from my ancestors or anything, or from like the genetics. But some of the stuff that Night Stalker was talking about is exactly right. The ancestors are a big part of magic. A big part of honoring the ancestors is like a big deal. Lots of rituals and things like that go with it. And like he said, you put pictures of your ancestors up, and like when you walk into a room, you honor them. That's a real thing. And I think it's more of a past life regressions kind of thing, where in your dreams, maybe you're seeing like your past lives, maybe, and that has to go with that time travel kind of thing too, where maybe you're seeing your past lives. And I think the whole reason for this is to heal those past traumas, or try your best to heal them, even though it happened to your ancestors.
Yeah, so that wisdom has been passed on. I don't know, like I don't know. It's wild to me. It's wild to even consider. It doesn't seem magic to you. I mean, it doesn't seem like science at all. It seems like there's, like we always talk about, like James was saying, the normal and the paranormal, and then eventually, like, there's going to be no paranormal because it'll just be science and it'll be normal. This seems like so far out there that from life to life, just through the DNA, that the reproduction process, without ever passing on a lesson, we're passing on novel lessons. It's incredible, man. Like just the concept is like mind-boggling, right?
Yeah, it's a good subject, man. Thank you for talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. My pleasure. So what else you got? What are your ideas here? Have you ever had a dream sort of where you didn't realize you were, maybe you weren't yourself? Anything like this, or not really?
No, like not personal experiences, but I believe more in like, how do I say this? So like in past life, like you have your past lives, and like say you were like shot in your past life, then you would have like a fear of guns. Are you following me?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, or even they've said in like this reincarnation cycle, like if you got shot like in the chest, you might have like a birthmark on your chest where that bullet wound was, right? Things like that.
Yeah, and there's people that can remember it and remember, I was stabbed or I was shot in this, and then they have a birthmark there and they remember it. It's kind of the reincarnation thing is kind of trippy, but I think that might be more how it goes through your dreams, because it's your reincarnation. So it's going through your dreams. It's still you. So you might be having a dream of your past life and not even know it.
Oops, I muted myself. Yeah, exactly. And so this becomes super foggy then, doesn't it? So it literally could be the same thing, sort of manifesting different ways, right? Through a dream state or through this idea of this epigenetics and DNA memory. So I wonder, right? Like, and that's why clearly it led me down this path of, okay, what about reincarnation? Because obviously that would be a way to do the same thing. It would be that idea of the old soul, right? Like you've been around the block once or twice, had a few lives or whatever, and so right, you know what I'm saying? Like been around the cosmic block, right? That sounds goofy, but we'll just roll with that. But then if that's the case, then you're bringing some of those past experiences into the new life, right? It seems like it's identical.
Yeah, it's definitely, it could be both. Like you said, it could be genetics and past lives.
Yeah, kind of merging together in some weird troubled minds, off the rail, maybe juice mess. Hey man, sometimes shit happens, right? Great stuff, Matt. What else? What about? We've talked with you about the shamanic journey. What about that stuff? Do you think, like when Derek called in, we were talking a little bit about the Akashic record. Do you think maybe that plays into this at all? Maybe that shamanic journey and maybe tapping into a maybe universal subconscious, something like that?
Yeah, I think, with the shaman journey, like back in the day, they didn't have doctors, so they had what we call witches or shamans, like healers on the edge of the town that you would go to. And these shamans, what they would do is their services, they would help people, but their services was they would, what they could do is they could travel to the spirit world on your behalf and help fix or try to solve problems that you might have. So if you did have like a past life trauma, like say, just off the top of my head, like something happens to you, and this goes back to the this is kind of off a little bit, but they have this thing called soul fragments, where if like a traumatic experience happens, your inner child could like run away from it, right? And so say your inner child, they call it the shade, would run away and get lost in the spirit world. And you can grow up and not know that you're missing your shade. And then and you would have problems in your life. And then it's the shaman's job, his services is to go to the spirit world on your behalf and try to call upon the shade to bring back this past trauma, these past healing, and then bring it back to you in the physical world and heal it. Am I close?
No, yeah, maybe. No, maybe. So I'm just processing here. So, okay, so in that... and so what did the shade do? It sort of stole that ancestral memory from you, right? Is what we're getting at here?
No, your shade is like your inner child. It's a different word for like your inner child. So you can lose that. A piece of your soul get lost in the spirit world from like a traumatic experience.
Okay, I see. I misunderstood.
And the shaman would like go to the spirit world and retrieve it and bring it back
and make you whole again, spiritually.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. As part of that, so is there a trick to that? Is it all peyote and DMT, or is there other ways to do that? I'm asking for a friend.
You can learn it. It's there. It's like I said. I didn't. I've learned this stuff. I read this stuff a long time ago. I haven't really looked it up recently. But yeah, I believe in it. It's a thing. It's the shamanic journeys. Okay. Shaman like travels to the spirit world, and that's like his job, his occupation. Right. And then brings back stuff to heal people and help people.
I love it. I love the idea. I knew you'd know something about it. That's why I asked. I tried to frame it as a shamanic journey here. It seems like so much of this is connected, right? I mean, we're talking about dreams, and we're talking about epigenetics, and we're talking about the shamanic journey. And I even threw in DMT and peyote as sort of a wink, halfway joke. But I'm not sure it's like a joking matter. Like this seems to be stuff that's pervasive. Like it's. You kind of can't shake these themes, just kind of keep coming back around, right? And I'm not so sure that we're like, that I'm conjuring stories or something out of the ether here to bring back the same themes. It seems like nearly everything I talk about, and if it's not like something more, kind of 2 feet on the ground, like the surveillance state or things like this, it seems like they always come back around to some similar themes, right? Some of this metaphysics and some of this just sort of woo-woo stuff that it kind of makes you wonder if there's something to it, right?
Yeah, I believe in the metaphysics, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah, right. 100%. I love it, man. I love it. What else you got for us tonight, my friend?
That's gonna be all. I just wanted to. It's a good topic. I think I was saying about the ancestors thing and the past life thing is more what I was talking about. But I do believe maybe there is some genetics thing going on there where we can tap into the power of our ancestors, and maybe that's something that we should look into. Just as a spiritual awakening for yourself, like talk about your ancestors. Go like find your grandparents and get like a family tree, and try to trace back your family tree as far as you can. You learn some crazy stuff.
Yeah, and maybe jog some of those subconscious memories that you have that you didn't know you had, right? Wild stuff. You're the best, Matt in California. Always a pleasure. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with us. I appreciate it very much.
All right, thanks, Mike. Good night.
Have a good one. Tell Lacey I said hi. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. All right, so this is the thing, right? This is why we do this. We get together because as much as I try and come up with wacky ideas, it's not that I'm trying to just make shit up. And that was a joke earlier, and it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. I'm trying to come up with novel thoughts, right? That's what it is. It's not about making shit up. It's like, hey, like what if you combine these two things? What if we talk about these things in tandem? What if are these things related at all? And again, like this idea of this DNA memory, it seemed to sort of call the idea of reincarnation, right? It seemed to kind of hearken to that, and so here we are again. There's a lot of deep basis for this, and great stuff from Matt as always. I appreciate it very much. So let's go to we're still doing this 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link troubleminds.org. Let's go to Kelly in Colorado. What's up, brother? Are you there? Test 1 2.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. You chilling? Another weird Wednesday on Troubled Minds.
Yeah, good topic, man.
Thank you. I'm sure you know something about this. What are your thoughts? Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, the whole passing down through the DNA. That's kind of science has been playing with that as well. They come out and talk about that. Like traumatic issues and stuff. I mean, I could see some of that happening, kind of like that example, the learning example that with the monkeys washing the potatoes. That was a good one. Or, it could be with like birds too. Birds learn to fish by like having a little fish in their beak, and then they, like waddle around, wait till bigger fish come up, or like throw it on top, looks like floating bread or something, and they snatch that up too. But then their youngins do it as well. But like, what's interesting is where do they learn that? But yeah, that's those are good examples, man. But I don't know, man. Sometimes, like, I look at the whole DNA thing. I could see that, because you get examples, right? I mean, I'm not gonna try to pick people's different, personal issues, but, like abused women, for example, right? They say that, like, I don't know, it's like a trend, like their ancestors before them, their mothers, their their great grandmothers before them. It's just how society was back in those days, So, the trauma that's stamped on what we call DNA or like our genes. You get the stories too where like people says I always wonder like what generation is going to stand up against that? Get tired of it, where they just and no longer will affect them. It won't let them control them. Where they call break the cycle or something.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm glad you brought that up, because it seems like there is, we talk about these cycles a lot, not just like with abuse or things like this, right? There's like a child sexual abuse that happens, regular traumatic abuse like violence. But then also there's other stuff like maybe addiction. Maybe addiction is part of these like learned DNA cycles too, right? And so exactly, at what point do you shake out the bad stuff? Because you can't, right? You can't just be like, okay, I'm only going to take the good DNA memory forward. You can't, because it's again based in trauma. And I was reading on some of this other stuff. You'll probably find this fascinating. Is that they were saying that the adrenaline kick it's one theory. When that happens, the adrenaline kicks, it leaves some sort of DNA marker, and that's what passes. So it's sort of those ideas of like those super moments where, something literally like trauma, and it's in the adrenaline kick somehow leaves a stain in the DNA, in the genes, and that's what gets passed on. Wild stuff, man, right? Like, doesn't this seem like magic? I mean, shit, we're talking about like passing on information from two individuals that may have never met. Like, let's say your great grandmother. You know what I mean? Like, you never met that person. I never met that person, but we're still carrying around knowledge from that person. That if that doesn't seem like magic, I don't know what the hell is, right?
Yeah, I mean that type of stuff. That's what people would call a theory, or that's like my native side of the family, like my native side, where it's, we always talk about, your grandparents, the passing down knowledge, and some of that is true where, it's not only that you won't even know them, it'd be just that those type of things are, it's a great thing, not all of it has to be bad, but some of those traumas, that's where you probably get like the whole fight or flight, feeling where, either you're going to fight or you're going to run, so that's, I'm pretty sure that type of, trauma has been, been pressed throughout DNA. I mean, I could go a few examples, like even further where, where some of that stuff is just, it's prevalent, just the way people, where people were like, let's say the ruling class, right? Kings and queens. Even then, they were talking about always sticking with their own DNA, marrying their cousins, or like, inside the family, that type of stuff. Where did that whole came from? That whole type of stuff. The governing of people and stuff like that. Just the knowledge being passed down through generations and generations, millennia, man. But again, so when is it, like I was trying to come to, is like, where does that got to stop? It's got to, or does it really? So that maybe it doesn't affect that one person per se, but maybe it skips generations, and that's and that does happen in some well, maybe does that, it never stops. It could just skip a generation, or are you strong enough to break that cycle?
Yeah, I wonder if that's the thing, right? If that is sort of our demons, you would describe it as, right? Like sort of that, like they say, right? They say that, for instance, with the Bruce Lee family, right? So Bruce Lee had some sort of demons with, maybe he was cursed by the Chinese kung fu masters who didn't like him teaching their secrets or whatever, right? That's one of the stories. And so they cursed him. And so that curse goes through, it actually sticks to the DNA and passes on to, wouldn't you know it, his son. And his son also passes away in really suspicious, horrific circumstances, very much like his father. So I wonder if that's like that cycle, like you're describing here, of breaking the demons. Like the demons inside of us are not necessarily, let's say, biblical, metaphorical, but maybe that's just genetics, bro. What the F, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of things that, I mean, you can see it, in different type of people. Like, sometimes it was sad to see. I don't know if I could people, if you can read, people read people, right? But, just like, I met, just for example, I met, like, growing up, different people. Then you go to their homes and you kind of see, like, where the person would get that attitude or get that, where they would portray themselves and, within their families, genetics. So, like, again, man, before is like we've always talked about is, I believe it's in your DNA, all this stuff, everything passed down with, it's like Nice Talk was saying, the so-called junk DNA. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're still tapping in now, and I'm glad technologies, hopefully they can share that though, not just hold that from people, because they I don't know if they want to even release some of this stuff to, maybe they just want this trauma alive and going through generations.
Yeah, it could be. It could be, and I think that's the craziest part about this. It does fit so many of these molds of metaphysics, right? Like the woo woo. Like this suddenly becomes okay. We've got a scientific basis for, I don't know, like a universal subconscious, that a generational universal subconscious, or right, the Akashic record, right? Like somehow passing down information from the past without actually passing it on. It's like encoded in our genome, which seems absurd, right? I mean, the thought of this is pretty nuts to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can go. There's like 4 different rabbit holes I can go down on this one, but it's like I only got so much time. We'd have to do this on another time frame.
Sure. You want to do it on another time frame? Let's schedule it, bro. What's the best day for you?
Oh man, well, we'll have to get a hold of you
when you can. You're always welcome. You already know. All right. So anything else? What else you got for us? What we got you on?
Nothing else, man. That was probably about it. I just want to add a couple things to everybody. Had some, again, good thoughts and ideas. It's awesome. It's kind of that's why I like hearing everybody's. Because I think that sometimes maybe that there's probably a good possibility, but then you hear somebody else's, and pretty awesome. Good call tonight.
Agreed, 100%. Embarrassment or riches, our cup overfloweth, all that good stuff. So many great people as part of this, and you as well. Thank you, Kelly. Kelly in Colorado, longtime friend of mine. Say hi to Michelle for me. Appreciate you guys listening. Thanks again for calling. You're the best, brother.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you very much. We're still talking about this. Our DNA memories, ancestral dreams. You think there's a link here? Do you think there's a link with, we talk about metaphysics, we talk about science, and there's a scientific basis here. Again, back to the experiment with the mice. They put them in like a common place. They shocked them once, and then they put them, they scattered to like their safe spot, and then they put them back in the common space, and then they put a scent of cherry blossom in the air. And then they shocked them. And then so it was like that conditioned response to Pavlov dog thing, right? But what happened is eventually they didn't have to shock them anymore. They just put the scent of cherry blossom in the air, and then they freaked out and then went to their spaces, right? So there was a traumatic experience brought about by the cherry blossom smell. Now what happened was they removed these mice entirely. They let them breed, and 2-3 generations of mice down the line here. They bring their offspring into this same place which they've never been, and they do the cherry blossom smell, and their offspring freak and run, and they've never been shocked, right? So there's like this idea of this DNA memory that's passed down through our genes, which is, again, scientifically verified. But if that doesn't sound like magic and woo, I don't know what does. Like this is like WTF is really going on with this. So I was like, all right, well, what if this is the case with our dreams as well? We're tapping into not just our DNA space of learning from our ancestors, but what if we're still getting sort of tuned into that knowledge through our dream space as well? I don't know. Put the two together and you got a Troubled Mind show. 702-957-1037. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Thanks for being patient with my rambles. Go right ahead, my friend. Great show last night. Welcome to Troubled Minds, Jennifer.
Hello, Mike. Yeah, it's a good show tonight.
Thank you.
I think, the genetic memory thing, I think there is something Well, yeah, it's there for sure, I think. It seems that way. Like the sea turtles, like the mother sea turtle goes, miles, so many miles, hundreds of miles, maybe thousands of miles, a great distance, and goes to specific places, puts her eggs there, and then the little baby turtles somehow know to swim, so many hundreds or thousands of miles back to where the mother the sea turtle had swam from. It's really impressive. They just know it, like all the different creatures and everything. It's amazing. It's definitely, it's the memory is in the DNA, it seems, and they just have it. We all have it, I think. And I don't know how it fits into it, I guess, but like I've had dreams of different time periods for sure. Like I had one involving my ancestors. For example, my Nemo. I had this one dream. It's real quick. I was in a house and I was like a young girl and like a little girl, and there was a woman by a sink and her back was to me, and she was kind of young, and I remember her turning around just glancing to me, and I could see that it was my Mima. And like it looked like her, but younger, like much younger. And she told me to put the baby in the car. And I was like, okay. And I just went over and picked up this baby and put the baby, like took the baby out to the car and put the baby in a car seat in the car. And what's really weird, or put him in the car, I just remember putting this baby in the car. And what's really weird about that, because I told my mom about the dream and told her that I'd seen Mima, because Mima had passed away. And it was years after Mima had passed away. And she told me that she asked about the house itself and about what Mima looked like and everything. And I had not seen pictures of my Mima looking like she did there. I'd seen her like in her, like maybe her 40s or her 50s or something like that, but I hadn't seen any, she was like 20 something, like she was real young. And I wondered if I was like, and my mother was the oldest of all the girls. And I wondered if I was somehow like in my mother's body or something, or something weird like that, because there was no way I could have known about, like, there was no way. And then another dream that happened, my great uncle Arnold, he had lost his legs in World War II, and I only remember him because I remember when I was like 5 that he didn't have legs, and he had this those carts that the people who don't have legs use. I'm not sure what they're called right now. I can't remember the name for them, but it's like a scooter type of thing. Anyway, he'd give the kids ride on his lap on his scooter thing, and I remember that, and I was like 5. And like 2 years back, I had this dream where I was like in the downtown of some city, and I went up this walk-up stairway up to an apartment, and there was this little apartment, and there were all these people kind of having a party, and it was definitely a different time period. Like, everybody was dressed different, and they were playing records and having drinks. And there was this man there, and he had, like, black slicked back hair and a white T-shirt, and he was slim, and, like, black slacks, and he was playing records. And he danced with me in the dream and was, like, really, like, very nice and everything. It wasn't weird or anything. He was just like, and he was being very, like, so happy. And it was my Uncle Arnold. Like, I called my mom, and I was like, I saw Uncle Arnold in a dream, I think. And I described him to her, and I had never seen a picture of Uncle Arnold with his legs or young with black hair. But it was him, like, and because when he was old, I only saw him when he was a very old man. And somehow I was seeing him like in a different time period in his apartment. Like, they had this apartment in the city, and it was so strange. And then I had another dream real quick and it was a really far back time period. Like, I was this woman, and there were like these children, and there was a hole. The house was like a hole in the ground, like a dirt mound or something. And the door, like, went into the dirt mound, into this house that was built into the side of a hill. And there were these horses that came, like, in the dream, running, like, galloping. and everyone ran into that hole, into that house in the ground, and were like terrified. And I remember that dream just being like, what the heck was that? Like, it was like some completely different time period where there was like, you know, like run, like men on horses. So I don't know, but it was this crazy, you know, I don't know if it's some kind of memory of some kind, or if you're carrying even the memories of other family members in your in your genes, and you may occasionally tap into dreams where you're seeing the same family members or the same people kind of circulating genetically, and you're sharing some of the same memories or something. I don't know, but it's very strange, isn't it? All of it. Very weird.
It's very weird. And it does seem to line up, like Matt was describing, sort of the shamanic journey, or saying that maybe the idea of, you know, reincarnation fits into this sort of idea, and I think it all does, and it just seems so. It seems so uncanny, all of this. It's just like wait, like, I mean, we're people, right? Like people, consciousness. We're beat our chest and howl at the moon, and we're like, we are people. Hear us roar. But I mean, for fuck's sakes, this is happening with mice. You know what I mean? It's like, right. Wait, like what the hell's going on now? Like, it at some point, science is like giving way to the woo, right? Imagine when they finally decipher all this scientifically. Like, I think what we are and what this is, this whole reality of what we live in, is going to be mind blowing, because when they figure all this shit out, oh boy, right? Oh boy, there's a lot here. There's a lot here.
Right. Yep. Good show. Great show tonight.
Thank you. And you have heard of this DNA memory before, right?
Yep. Genetic memory. I mean, I think it's definitely a thing. I think all the animals do it. They know exactly what to do. Nothing has to teach them how to do it. They just do it. You know, like a spider doesn't master weaving a web. It just does it. It knows it's supposed to do that and exactly how to do it. It just knows how to do it. I mean, it seems like it would just be doing, like, but it's really odd. But then everything's doing it. Everything knows to do what it's supposed to do from something. Nothing taught it to do it. It's not necessarily like it's mimicking something. I mean, there is the case where you have like the potato washing thing and stuff like that, where they've been taught to do it, and then that's really interesting. The same thing with the thing with the mice. I think, where it's being taught and it's being imprinted in the memory DNA live. You know what I mean? It's a lab tested scenario. Live, it's right in front of us, seeing how it works, and that it is something that somehow the memory from the previous creature carries on to the next generation of creatures, that they will do it. It must be, I wonder if it continues to go on and on and on. Like, what if we're doing things from genetic memory from like the 60s, from like before most of us were born, or the 70s, or even the 80s or the 90s. Before that, I wonder how close is that? Obviously right behind us, because in the case of the mice, it was immediate. An immediate carryover of the knowledge about this or the wariness about that. So I wonder how close it is and what the effects of that would be. So if you have, like, right now, whatever's happening right now, and the generations that will be born next, if they'll have memory of these things happening right now and will act differently in accordance with that, since it's been imprinted on the DNA as a traumatic memory, like, I don't know. It seems very likely.
Yeah, it does seem likely. And what's bizarre, too? We live in this space where, when we were young, there was, no internet, or the access was very, very limited, or, it wasn't like it is today. Right. So I wonder, right? I wonder if this genetic memory is somehow going to be carried on through maybe internet trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, shit.
Yes. I would think if the smell of cherry blossom or whatever it is enough to carry, like, something as simple as that. But a very powerful thing is that'd be like the stimuli would have to be a very specific and repetitive stimuli, I think, for it to imprint. And so but apparently, I mean, if it can be done I wonder how long they carried on that experiment. A mouse doesn't live very long. A mice doesn't live very long, but but a mouse doesn't live very long. So you would assume that, it's not, but in perspective of the life of the mouse, I suppose it went on for quite a while. So I'm not sure how long they were doing the experiments on the mice, but, you know, if you could put that in perspective, how long of an exposure to the certain scenario would it take? I know for it to actually imprint. We all have the basic stuff already down of how we're going to act and how we're going to conduct ourselves as humans, you know. But yeah, I think the genetic memory thing is, but I didn't realize it was so close. Like so instant. I didn't realize it would be that way. And that's
Next
really,
generation.
That's really strange.
Yeah. And again, right? So
incredible.
so what is this? Science or woo? Or both?
Isn't science like woo disguised as being professional? Like,
Kinda.
It really is. Like science is just it's like it's official woo.
Right,
Like, we're going to talk
exactly.
about woo stuff in a very official way. And then we'll call it science and we'll make it official, and then it won't be woo anymore. It'll be science. So
Exactly
yeah,
right.
I think science and woo are hand in hand
Kind of the same
a
thing.
lot of times.
Yeah, it seems like. And a lot of the woo, we just haven't figured out exactly the scientific method to like untangle it just quite yet. Yeah, wild stuff.
To unwoo it.
Unwoo it, yeah. That's a t-shirt right there. Unwoo it.
Unwoo it with science.
Right, exactly. Great stuff as always, Jennifer. You're the best. What else you got for us tonight?
A great show tonight.
Thank you.
That's all. It's a good show and very fun. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Jennifer here has a YouTube channel. She was here last night with us as well, doing the whole show. Please give her some love. Scroll down. Link is in the description. It says follow Jennifer here. Thank you for the phone call, my friend. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. There you go. Easy as that. 702-957-1037. Again, like I said, embarrassment of riches. We have so many amazing people that call into this show. It's just what it is. Again, back to my friend in Turkey. He says he listens to us over there, and he wants to just fast forward all the callers and listen to me. I'm like, why, bro? I'm like, why? Like, let's listen to all these amazing people. Why are you going to do that? Like, fine, maybe I'm okay sometimes, but holy shit. Like, if you're skipping calls, you're missing like the best part of this whole show. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't have answers here. You know me. I'm not trying to like force feed anything to anybody, but it is curious, interesting, and all the rest of that. By the way, we still have time for you. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link, troubleminds.org. Let me check all the places, make sure we're good. We still got Kelly here. I don't know if he's still hanging, has anything else to say. If you got anything, Kelly, just chime in. You know how to do it. But I think basically when we come down to what this is, it doesn't seem very scientific. It just doesn't. What's up, Kelly? You there? Test 1 2.
Curious and all the rest of that. By the way, we still have
Oh wait, that's Daryl. What's up, Daryl? We hear you.
Hold on a second. Oops, sorry. Hold on. I'm coming.
That's right.
I'm coming.
That's all right. We're good. All right. So we got Daryl in New York. We're going to talk to her in just a moment here. I was like, what the hell just happened? I can hear myself talking back to myself. It's so strange. Michael Strange talking to Michael Strange. That's super woo right there. Daryl in New York. Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you tonight?
Hey, hold on. I think I have an echo.
Okay.
Hold on a second. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. When you get it figured, let me know. Let's see. What do we got? Rolling through the chat here. How's everybody doing tonight? Just hanging out. Another weird Wednesday on Troubled Minds, and we're figuring out our tech issues here. So the best thing too, if you want to, if you're wondering how to work Discord, the best way is turn on streamer mode. It will keep the beeps from going in the background, and then just mute the stream before you hop in, or right around the time you do, and keep yourself muted until the stream stops. And then there we go.
Okay.
Am
I here?
Still, you're here. I'm still hearing it in the back, but I think we can power through this. Go right ahead. What are your thoughts on this, Darren?
Okay.
This DNA memory and ancestral dreams.
Well, real fast, I had a couple of thoughts. Yes, I totally believe that everybody that goes through past life regression, it's possible that they could be remembering their memories of their ancestors. And then also deja vu, deja vu where you feel like it's something so familiar. Maybe you're remembering something your parents remembered, And it's just so uncanny that you just feel like you've been there before. And maybe you were because your parents were there before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sort of walking in their footsteps type of thing. And you don't know it until you do it. And then you're like, shit, I've been here. Yeah, that's odd. That's odd. Yeah, I love it.
Then I was thinking like the Dalai Lama, let's say. I don't know. There's a few anomalies in this theory that maybe it's your parents' memories, but then how do you reincarnate into a Dalai Lama, let's say? Because that kid is like, sometimes they're alive when the Dalai Lama is still alive, or I'm not even sure how that works, but they're not related. They're not related by blood. They know who the next Dalai Lama is just by incarnation. They just know it is. And then he has the memory of the Dalai Lamas, so whatever. And then the kids that are like, sometimes there are kids that remember when they were murdered in a war in their past lives, and they could solve their murder. But they couldn't possibly remember their grandparents' lives or their father's lives if they were born already. I don't know. It's confusing. It must be like a generation skip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is confusing. I think that's why this is such a fascinating thing tonight, is because is it just science? Is it genetics? Is it like, how much are we passing on? And is it trauma? Again, back to that idea that we have, maybe the adrenaline surge is what causes that, genetic marker that does pass, because how would you, think about it, like our entire life experience from, not to be dark here, but from birth to death, it's a lot of information. And so how in particular would you mark a gene to pass on that's important, right? I think maybe that adrenaline surge makes some sense, that it's leaving some sort of genetic marker to pass, right? To pass on. That does make some sense to me. And by the way, I think in those terms as well, if you have people that have particularly more traumatic lives for whatever reason, like let's say people that lived during World War II, went to war, maybe survived the war, had horrific experiences, and came out of it, right? They would have just an unbelievable imprint of all these crazy adrenaline surges that they're passing on. I mean, think about the baby boomer generation. The whole point of, again, I hate the term. That's why I say baby boomer, because to me, boomer's a slur. Don't say that word, guys. It's like, I don't like maligning an entire generation, but baby boomers in particular is that a lot of them are children of the World War II people that came back. And so those individuals have, the World War II vets have an unbelievably line of traumatic experiences that they survived and were able to maybe pass on. So I wonder if it says something about, sort of like we were talking about last night with Jennifer, maybe the death cult of Saturn, right? That whole bit. Maybe there's something to that, in this idea that we just can't escape the past, no matter how hard we try, because it's going to be passed on. And like Kelly was saying, maybe other traumatic events, like maybe abuse or things like that. Like I said, maybe addiction. I don't know, Daryl. This shit gets super complicated, doesn't it?
Well, there was something about a gamma ray that occurs at conception, or it occurs during orgasm, maybe, or there was just there was some talk about this. I think David Adair mentioned it. He wanted to capture something with a gamma ray to kind of enhance your DNA with a gamma ray burst. But I think that moment of conception happens with supposedly a gamma ray occurs physically, and maybe that enhances, the future person, that becomes part of their, envelops their past, or their past genetics gets passed on at that moment with all the memories of their parents. It starts right there. Boom. That's just a thought. Just saying. Anyway.
You never know. You never know. Okay, so let me ask you then. So you've heard of this DNA memory stuff, right?
Oh, I believe in it. I kind of believe that everybody has the memories of their ancestors somewhere. I don't know if they could be tapped, but I'm sure that we're definitely all part of our ancestors. We inherited everything else. The thing is, are we inheriting consciousness? Is it split?
There's the question. Now there's the question. And so again, once you take that DNA memory and you tie it into the dream state, that again, dreams are so abstract, it's almost like it's an injection from the past, right? If you had some of these DNA markers that don't really culminate until you're in the moment, kind of like you described the deja vu. You've been there, but you don't feel like you've been there till you're there. Then maybe this situation is we're carrying around this knowledge with us, and it doesn't culminate till it needs to. Meaning that is this dream state in our abstract dreams sort of a culmination of this DNA memory, sort of reminding us, right? I don't know. That's why I'm like, I wonder if it's connected. It seems like it might be connected, but I don't know. What the hell do I know? What do I know, Dan? Come on now.
I'm even thinking, whatever you mentioned prior, like, do we have an aversion towards like bugs or snakes only because our ancestors had that aversion and it was just passed to us? It's so universal at this point. Like, we all have a common, we all have an ability to see beauty. Even children understand beauty. I read some study that they, even as infants, they can appreciate a beautiful face, even though they're just babies. They can react to beauty in some ways, and is that passed on? So, and we inherit all these other unnecessary things or illnesses or whatever, personality, whatever. But we appreciate it. Like, do we have the fears of our fears that are kind of universal, like to cockroaches or rats or snakes? Those kind of things. Do they come from our relatives? And maybe at one point, we just didn't have that. That it was passed on to us. Maybe we never had an aversion to those things, but it seems so many things are semi-universal, Even love, maybe we inherited love, the feeling of love, that wonderful feeling. All of our emotions is that part of our consciousness, and even our dreams. Where do we go when we're dreaming? Can we inherit their dreams based on their reality? I don't know. It's all good. It's all great stuff. I just love your topics. You really came up with something great again.
Thank you. I try. I think you're spot on with a lot of that too. Is that how do we know? Like again, I always cite my dog. Poor baby's passed away now, but we got him as a puppy, right? He was very, very, very small, and he was could barely walk. Like, we probably got him too soon. Like he probably should have been nursing for another week or a couple of weeks. But we got him, and he was a baby, and he was barely just learning to walk and that type of stuff. But somehow, even though, right, he didn't know how to really do dog things yet, he still knew how to be a dog. We took him out, and like I always say, he the very first time I saw him try and lift up his leg to pee was the most adorable thing I've ever seen, because he could barely stand, and so he was still trying to three-leg it to piss, and I was like, what the, how do you know to do that? A little baby, you don't know shit about anything yet, but he knew, Ronald said over in the chat over on Rockman, he's all, everybody knows, Mike, don't piss on your leg. So there it is. And he didn't know yet, right? But he still kind of knew. It's the craziest thing. It's just like Jennifer was saying with the spider in the web. Nobody teaches a spider how to build the web. They just do it. And not only that, they do it, and then they catch things and they eat the things. I mean, it's crazy. It's the craziest stuff, like how we're sort of locked into this cycle of, well, what is it? I don't know. Is it actual epigenetics? Is this science, or is this woo, Daryl? If you gotta pin it down to one thing, which one is it?
I think it's science, personally. I kind of think it is science. I don't think it's that new at all. To me, it sounds very logical. Doesn't it sound logical to you? I find it very logical. That makes a lot more sense than, I think it makes more sense than maybe reincarnating into a new body. I mean, even a friend of mine, she had memories of a past life where she was very, very rich and lived in a castle, and she was a princess. She was royalty. And I'm sure maybe that's possible genetically, totally possible, if you go back in time. Maybe she did have that royal bloodline. Just luck of the draw, you don't necessarily incarnate into a bloodline that you were, or maybe your bloodline just got poor or something, you got they fell apart or something. I'm not sure, I don't know. I think it's all possible. I don't have, some people, how come people don't remember being a slave or being poor, or do we, or is that our destiny? Keep in part. I don't know.
Yes, I think consult yesterday's show, the death cult of Saturn. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe it's it's passed on for so long and so deep that right, like we have recurring themes, like we were describing earlier, like Kelly was saying, sort of like maybe these addiction themes or maybe these abuse themes, or right, and they seem to be in this cycle that we can't break because it's so pervasive in just humanity, where you may dodge it this life, but guess what, you're going to get one of those things next life. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Or sometimes you remember being a man, then you remember being a woman, and then your whole family is still there, but you're in different roles. Your father's now your husband and your mother's now your daughter, or something like that. That's another thought. But what if you don't have children? What if you're that soul waiting for that? I don't know. That's kind of a parallel, a perpendicular subject. Almost.
Now you're just building a mind fuck, Daryl. Now you've done it. Now this is all your fault, Daryl. This is all your fault. No, all good.
That opportunity to incarnate. Oh well, I'll take it. I'll take any family. I'm waiting this long. Just adopt me. I don't know.
There you go. You're ours, Daryl. We can't get rid of you now. You belong to us. You're a Troubled Minds fan. All right. So with all this, I don't know. Science woo. You say probably more science, less woo. I'm flipping a coin here. I think it's all related. I think this is one of those things where science hasn't discovered this yet, but I think that this is wacky. Oh, by the way, too, I didn't get a chance to bring this up because so many great calls between here and there. But what about this? What about passing on knowledge from this DNA memory? But I brought up the idea a little bit earlier. What if you had Merlin in your lineage?
Oh, yeah.
Or some ascendant master? Do you think that maybe somehow, some way, some of us have the ability to lock into some sort of like super Merlin power? You know what I'm saying? Something like that?
You gotta wonder, even like these like savants that they have these amazing talents, like where does that come from, That's like the secret of, the wonder of genius, these incredible geniuses. That has to be genetic somehow, You gotta wonder. Or, who knows, we have, maybe we have the blood of the gods, whatever they were. Somehow, maybe, it's like, it'll be passed down, not necessarily, your generation, but the next, it'll skip a generation or two. I mean, as long as you keep on breeding, assuming you keep breeding, I'm assuming, you're going to get some kind of wondrous genetic marvel if you have the right, combination. You just have to have that right mate, Maybe, you're going to mate with your future father or something. Who knows? Maybe that's the kind of incest that works, That's the incest that's not exactly incest, but it's a spiritual incest, maybe.
It's there's got to be a better name for it than that. That's definitely a T-shirt, though. Spiritual incest.
Like not saying soldier.
No, wait. I think so. We do have a store coming, and it was going to go to troubledfans.com. I think we may change it to spiritualincest.com.
Spiritual incest. Okay.
No, we won't do that.
Think about it. I mean, if they said if there are soul groups, that you'll see your father in the light, and then suddenly you're all part of this one big collective kind of family. You'll see all of the people that you've known in your past, and then you wind up being their family or their parents or their siblings. You wind up, your father's now your sibling, or who knows, now you're your father. You become the male person. You change genders. It's confusing, but is it life?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like I always say, it's not an easy road. It seems like some people have it easy, but you never know what people are battling inside and all the rest of that. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that for me. I'm not. Trust me. I'm not crying out for help. I promise you that. I'm just saying that you never know. You just never know with people, and so that's why I always say let's be let's be as cool and chill as we can. Let's be cool and chill as we can. Like let's respect and let's hang and let's be patient. And you never know. You never know what kind of trauma people are going through. And not only that, right? If we're talking about this idea of DNA memories, right? Maybe the trauma is not even from their lifetime. Like they're battling again back to that idea of the demons. Back to the Bruce Lee story. Things like this, right? Like maybe it is passed on, and these demons haven't been shaken for, out of the bloodline for thousands of years, type stuff. I mean, there's some freaky shit here. Like the deeper you go, the longer you think about it, the more you kind of get creeped out. Amazing stuff.
Exactly. But I don't know. And what happens when you don't have, you don't pass on your genes? You're the end of your line. What happens to those souls? Do they? I don't know. Maybe you just have to wait in that waiting room, that green room of purgatory or whatever it is.
The Beetlejuice room. Take a number.
I don't want to have children. I had 10 last time I was on the earth. I never stopped breeding. Now I want to not breed. I don't know. Maybe I had that destiny, that past history. Who knows?
Maybe you were Genghis Khan in another life, and you have a 10 million offspring already. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
I don't know.
Wild shit. Yeah, you're the best, Daryl. What else you got for us tonight regarding DNA memories, ancestral dreams? All the rest of
that's another thing I was thinking. What are we DNAing out of ourselves? I think, I've seen people's, I've seen like results of this new, DNA, RNA, thing that's going around that is changing people living and being born. And they don't look like us anymore. I've seen babies being born that certainly don't look like the babies that we're used to seeing. There's definitely something changed in them. And I wonder, how much are we tampering with our food, with our DNA, that we're going to unbreed out some really desirable characteristics and really get some undesirable ones. And we're going to find out soon enough, I think. But I've seen it already. Even living people, like their arms are like not even their arms anymore. They split. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to go there. I don't want to get you taken down. But it's very strange.
Thank you. Thank you for not getting me banned from YouTube, Daryl. I appreciate it very much.
Let some things go. Let's get our food back into its original state and keep human beings human.
Yeah, amen. Back to refer to last night's show. Back to that whole bit of transhumanism, right? At some point, the takeover begins, and there's going to be people that they say are pure blooded, and then those that are going to be electronic transhumanist, bastardized robots to do the bidding of the elites. Oh God.
I don't know.
Amen. Daryl, you're the best. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. You're Trouble Minds fam through and through. And by the way, Daryl has a YouTube channel. Like I said, this is not about the plug fest, about trying to do this for people. But let me tell you something. If you help me and contribute and love this show and are part of this, I have absolutely no problem sharing your YouTube channels and the things you're trying to sell and all the rest of that. I think it's only fair. So Daryl here has a YouTube channel. She sings in English and French. Check it out. Scroll down. Links in the description, and give Daryl some love. Follow her channel. And always a pleasure, my friend. Daryl in New York. Look forward to hearing from you the next time.
You bet, Michael. Thanks for a great show.
Thank you very much.
So interesting.
Thanks for a great call. Thank you. All right. So I think that kind of puts us right at the perfect time frame to just wind this up. So you guys know how this goes. This one goes to Jay in New York. The bad news is we're done. The good news is, God willing, we've got tomorrow. That's for Grandma as well. And so the thing is, I don't know. Like sometimes, like I said, inspiration is a funny thing. And where does it come from? I don't even fucking know. It's like, you read a bunch of stuff and try and put some things together and come up with a novel concept. And tonight, here we are. I'm a little bit proud of this one in the sense that I've never heard anybody talk about this in these terms. And that's good. That's a good thing. I'm not trying to copy anybody. I'm not trying to give you guys stale shit that was said 10 years ago, and if I stumble across it by accident or do resurrect something that's an old necro thread, they call it, so be it. I'm not trying to do those things. I'm trying to come up with new ideas, new thoughts, new concepts, basically philosophy, right? And so that's what this is all about. It's about getting together and just trying to take our brains to places they haven't been yet, the things they haven't been maybe considered before. And if I've done that at any point ever, then I've done my job. And thank you so much for being part of this. You guys know the drill. We're going to get the hell out of here. And there you go. That one's for Jay. He says, maybe a minute in the lake of fire. All right, I'll come say hi. After the show, we have a Discord. If you guys haven't joined that, please, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Many times after the show, not so much anymore because I'm so tired anymore. My sleep schedule is so wrecked that I can't stay up all night, but many people can pop in and say hi. So if you haven't came to say hi to Daryl here, Daryl's in the chat often with us, all kinds of people, Jennifer, APOC, you name them, Jay in New York, Matt in California, Night Stalker jumps in from time to time. Come say hi, come meet these people. They're as amazing as they sound here on the show. That they're not. This is not a fake thing where we get together and concoct some phony bunch of BS and tell you who we are and we're not. This is who we are. Come say hi. If you haven't met us yet, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link and come say hi. Come say hi in the chat room. All right, so let's finish. Let's do it. Daryl, you're hissing over there. You're boiling water.
Sorry.
You're good.
I gotcha.
You're good. Please mute. Thank you. All right. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to play this. I'll smash the button so you can hear this, Daryl, and we'll do this. So as we finish, weird, awkward silence. Let's do that for just a second. Because I can. Weird, awkward silence. You know why, though? Because I fucking can. At some point, you got a track record. And if you fuck up, it doesn't matter. Check out the track record. It's all good. All right, let's do it. All right, let's roll it. I don't know, right? Conventions are fun. Making your own rules are fun. You know what's also fun? Breaking your own rules. Damn right. Here we go. As we do this, this is how we roll. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific time if you want to be part of the show. Come find us. troubledminds.org is the official website. Phone number's there, which is persistent, by the way. If you want to leave me a voicemail, please do. We get people calling all the time, leaving interesting tidbits. I'll cut up some of those and play them on the future shows because as we sort of circle back with some of these themes, it makes sense to do. So also join the Discord, please. troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Come meet these amazing people. All these amazing people, like 90% plus of them, are already on the Discord. So come say hi. 40s is there. Jennifer's there. Again, literally go up the line, and so many people that call into the show are already on the Discord. So just come say hi. Like I said, they're not any different than they seem here. They call in, they're brilliant people, they're very kind, very gracious, and just have an open mind, a troubled mind, and come say hi. Definitely come say hi. So that's what we're doing. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific, troubledminds.org. As we finish, if you want to help the show, there's a few ways. Number one, you can sub up on Patreon, right? I got some more Patreon content coming. I'm working on some other things where I can do some short videos with some captions and stuff and make them more of like a short, sort of like concise thing. So I'm working on that. We got some more stuff coming. Please, you could also sub up to Rockfin. Rockfin's amazing. Shout out to the Rockfin fam out there. I see you guys. It's been growing on Rockfin. It's crazy. Like we had 44,000 followers on Facebook. 10 people would show up to the stream. It's like double, triple that on Rockfin with like 2,200 subscribers. I'm telling you, Facebook had it out for us. That bullshit algorithm was screwing us. So, it's about the quality of your content. And here we go. And hopefully that's how we do this, the quality of the content. I'll keep trying my best if you guys keep listening, keep punching, keep calling, keep being part of this. You can sub up on Twitch also. We have a Monday and Friday news show that happens at 3 p.m. exclusively on Twitch, by the way. It does go to the podcast feed after that, but there we go. There's the ways. If you don't want to spend any money, but you do you love this show, spread the word. Old school grassroots, spreading the word helps. Jose tonight called, said a mate of his, a friend of his, a family member, turned him onto the show. It works. It still works. We can beat the algorithms through grassroots word of mouth. And as we finish, one more thing. If you want to help the show another way, don't want to spend money, just go listen to the podcast feed. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you guys. We hit our milestone. Can you believe this? I can't even believe it myself. It seems absurd. It seems insane. Here you go. I'm going to drop this up on the screen and I'll show you a full screen. Yeah, I can't fucking believe it myself. Have a look. Have a look. 200,000 downloads of Troubled Minds. 200,000 downloads of Troubled Minds. I can't believe it. Let's get the hell out of here. All right, so as we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night.